I stopped working at the church.
Oh, no. So he left the church.
Pray for me, home team.
So see, I'm not lying when I tell people that he left the church.
Do you guys remember, I know you know him, home team, intern Drew that was here over the summer?
Yes. Yeah.
His dad was watching the draft show that you guys did, the NBA draft. Or was that the lottery? I can't remember which one it was.
We did too.
Yes. So, Los, you mentioned that, and his dad texted Drew and asked if it was true that I left the church.
You know what?
So Drew's gone already? He was only there for the summer?
Yeah.
He's graduating in December.
Oh, okay.
I think Nerdy's a normal cusser. I'm going to be really like an American regular male cusser.
Yeah. So pretty terrible. I think the only time I cussed on air was during the NFL draft show we did a few years ago when I had worked my normal shift, 6 a.m. to noon.
Oh, yeah, he raised back up in the afternoon.
And then came back. I got like 30 minutes and came back up for the draft show. So by like 10:30, 10:45, I was completely, just completely living in a dream. I think I let something slip.
I think it was Oklahoma to just absolutely
ever used profanity.
I think the point spread's going up like 6 points.
I've said inappropriate.
Open on Sunday.
I haven't used one of the 7 deadlies. I've only had to apologize one time.
Every now and then gets it right, but most of the time,
because
when they're in
I issued the term when Hoyt was trying to describe that a guy had tracheotomy and was talking out of it at the mall. I said, so he had a cancer kazoo. Oh, no.
I wish I was
during the time period where they were coming down on Chuck and Chernoff as hard as they could for anything we were doing. So I had to publicly apologize. So I apologize.
No.
If anyone was offended, I'm sorry. It was we just shooting the S, man.
Holmes says no.
All right, we're gonna give you some marital advice too.
These guys
Nerdy. Oh yeah, stuff you put in your back pocket,
way up,
put in the vault to bank. I heard a funny thing. One of the guys I used to work with, I was listening to their show in Dallas, driving home yesterday. And he goes, I'd say about 85% of people been married 5 years or more. They would love to be able to get out of that. Just like nobody gets hurt. Everything's fine. I started going, all right, how many of my friends can I actually say, all right, after 5 years, if you're like, no hurting of kids, no financial stuff, no like that, I was like, would you do it? Because people in the 50s didn't do it. They just slept in separate beds and did their thing. Like that was my grandparents. If you would have gotten out, maybe year 3. It had to be early. You got to get a year early. Steve Holman was always funny. You know, people always, pop the question at a game. So every time somebody would do one of those proposals at a Hawks game, he'd always be like, well, we got another couple. Young man got a yes, and everybody looks like they're happy. Home team, he doesn't know what he's getting into. I would love for them to have just one of those really good runs at some point next few years, just so he gets that payoff and just that attention to the character that he is. He's all in. You talk about somebody dedicated to their craft, man.
That was the first real thing I did here at the station. I think was we are on the internet.
Yeah. We're streaming. Let me see if I can stream it on my iPad.
Anybody watching, the camera adds a couple 100 pounds, so that's why. But no, yeah, Hawks was those were the first broadcasts I ever worked in the cramped Jenner studio with all of us sitting in 3D together. It was me, 3D, you, our intern. Arrington was in there. Oh yeah, I remember he gave me the business one day because we were sitting in there and we only had one op. I was running the board one day and I guess he was downstairs waiting and he was waiting longer than he wanted to be waiting before I went down there to let him in. And he gave me the business when I opened the door and I kind of returned it a little bit.
I gotta see if he's still on staff. He was coaching with the Eagles.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. He went and took a job with the Eagles. Yeah, the most fun part about the stream is that people get to watch games while we watch games. So, amen. We'll all get a chance to talk with each other. And I have the chat up, so I want to see what it looks like on a pad. Trying to make the transition loose. Yeah. Getting tired of bringing my computer in every single day, and then if I leave my charger one day, I hear that. Then I'm chasing that down. The only issue I run into is that there's certain functionalities with the pad that you don't get as easily with the laptop, and so I brought them both today. For me, it's just cutting up sound. Yeah. So until they come up with a way you can cut up sound or capture sound. Yeah.
I've accrued a good bit of Visa gift cards over the years. I think I'm going to go finally get an iPad for myself.
That's what my wife did. Yeah. She saved hers up for a year after she graduated, and then went to the Apple store and just used them all. Let's see what the delay is.
I'm missing out.
1, 2, 3, 4. Typically, you're going to get about a 30-second delay. Which is the only... All right, that's about 15 seconds. Oh, okay. And see, this is what I run into, because I've had people say, hey, would you ever, stream a game at home? Because I'll stream quite a bit of stuff and do some games or do some whatever. The problem is that if you're watching it on, let's say, YouTube Live or Hulu Live, you're already delayed by about 15 seconds. So you're dealing with that. Your regular TV feed is delayed by about 10 seconds from one to the next. Then you're building in an additional delay when you're streaming, you're watching the game. So your reactions, it turns more into a zoo. People flick on over to it to see how you're going to react to something they know happened. Right, exactly. Hey.
The problem.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What was that? Derek says it's about 5 seconds right now. Oh! 5 seconds, yeah, that's great.
The problem with the Bloody Mary is that I really like tomatoes.
1,000.
It tastes really good.
3,000.
Sometimes I forget the rest of the ingredients inside the Bloody Mary.
1,000. I think it's 7,000. The second delay on mine. Charleston Bloody Mary mix. That stuff. Oh goodness! Wow. Rawr. I think I'm gonna stock up on that, and the Larceny Bourbon is really good. Yeah, Larceny Bourbon's quality stuff. Oh my goodness. We're fortunate. We've got a lot of good product that's running through the radio station right now.
Derek, let me know if my little boy bowl cut comes out.
How's everybody at Ironmonger been? Because I know they love when we throw them out there. We had a good show there. They really liked us. We need to do another one up there. I stayed the day we finished, and I just stayed till about 3:30, 4 o'clock, so people were coming in day drinking on a Friday, and they have a pretty good crowd that came in. Saturday afternoon. It is 12 o'clock. It is time for 680's College Game Day live from Sports and Social here in the Battery, Atlanta. Home team Brandon Leak, Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney here until about 3 o'clock today as we get you up, get you ready, and get you informed on what's going on in the world of college football. The local teams in action. UGA kick it off right now as they take on Arkansas State, Georgia Tech in about 30 minutes down there at the Flats. They'll be taking on the Citadel, and both teams looking for momentum as they get ready to finish up week 3 action. Gentlemen, good Saturday afternoon. How are y'all, and how are y'all ready? You know what? This week of college football. Considering that we're going to have such a massive weekend of college football next week, yes, this is like that hors d'oeuvre that we're all getting to enjoy. I talk about those hors d'oeuvre weekends of college football. You get the Citadel in here in Atlanta. You should take care of your business there. Obviously, what's going to go on in Athens in a matter of moments. Get to enjoy those, and then next week, we get the main course.
Yeah, tune-up games, right? Tune-up games. Yes. And I think some schools could probably use a tune-up game a little bit more. Georgia Tech, obviously, with the new program, new under Jeff Collins, a new offensive scheme, defensive scheme, they can use another one of those tune-up games. Couple, USF, I know they're not doing a whole lot right now under Charlie Strong, but a Power 5 team, and and then Clemson to start off the year. So, this is really going to be a game for Georgia Tech where they can hopefully open it up. And then Georgia, I question a little bit how many tune-up games you need, because next week is the big game for UGA. But hopefully we can see them come together a little bit more, and then defensively, hopefully work on some blitz packages, get a little bit of pressure going into the Notre Dame game.
You get another game where you get to play most of your roster, and that was the deal with Kirby Smart last week. He brought up the fact that against Murray State, they played 85, 86 guys, and so it's going to be another one of those days where with Arkansas State, a better football team, but you're talented, you're a top 3 team in the country, you should take care of the business and get as many guys into this game as possible.
Right. You don't know how injury is going to affect you. You don't know how later in the season how a guy who gets in work early in the season can benefit from being out there. And so if he's called into action, he won't be running around like a deer caught in the headlight. So very important for Georgia Tech. Important that they get their business in order as well, as Jeff Collins trying to win back-to-back weeks. They're playing the Citadel, and hopefully they'll have a good crowd down there. I think most importantly, what they need to figure out is his quarterback situation going to get worked out, or do they want to work it out? You have 3 different quarterbacks who do some different things. I just think, and Nerdy, we've talked about this for the last couple of weeks, I think it is ultimately the best thing for Georgia Tech to find out who a quarterback is, because it helps with leadership, helps with timing, helps with rhythm with the wide receivers, helps with rhythm with the offensive linemen, and helps with the rhythm if you are in a game and you are down and you need somebody to kind of rally the troops.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see who gets the start under center. Obviously, week 1, Tobias Oliver was out there. Lucas Johnson got the majority of the snaps in the first half a week ago. We'll see. Is it James Graham this week where they give him to start under center, see if they can open up? Because through 3 weeks, I know going into the season, you thought Lucas Johnson was, the obvious choice as the, most impressive thrower on the roster. But really, through the first 2 weeks, James Graham has really been the guy that kind of looks the most comfortable in that offense as far as throwing the ball. Now, Tobias Oliver, I've said this since the beginning of the season, he's a guy that I think needs to be one of the 11 on the field for your offense every play of that game. I'm not sure that it's under center. With that said, it's when he goes into the ball game, it's a little one-dimensional. He's going to try to run the football, but with that said, even when he's going to run the football, he's talented enough that you're not always going to stop him.
You talk about that quarterback play in the offense. I got to talk about the revelation for me that's been the defense.
Yes.
Obviously, you're playing against Clemson. That was going to be what it was going to be. But to see a Georgia Tech team that just looks more prepared to handle these types of offenses in years past, in part because you are practicing against the option, you're having to deal with scout teams that are option players trying to give you a look of a spread offense. Their defense looks greatly improved. And I think that's got to be one of the things for Tech fans. When you start talking about arrows pointing up in different directions, the culture's getting better, the excitement, the recruiting's getting better. Well, on the field, the defense certainly looks better than it has in recent years.
Yeah, Trey Swilling on the outside of cornerback, your 2 safeties, Wanye Thomas and Tariq Carpenter, they all showed out against Clemson. Georgia Tech in that first half against Clemson, they pretty much shut down the Clemson passing game. Now, with that said, Trevor Lawrence is a beast and still could beat you on 3rd and long using his legs because he can move that well. But, Georgia Tech, the strength of that defense is the secondary right now. They're going to have to, do some recruiting and get some bodies up in that front 7. But, with the secondary they have, and then add to the fact today's game, playing a triple option team where we know that they have plenty of practice in the past practicing against that. So, I really look for Tech's defense to show out big this today, and much like UGA, get pretty much everybody out there on the sidelines involved in this game one way or another.
And a quick look at the ACC, a couple of games early this week. Kansas shocks Boston College 48-24. My goodness gracious, and who would have thunk it that the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest have 3 wins before the Clemson Tigers. They are 3-0 after they knock off Mac Brown and North Carolina last night, 24-18 up there in North Carolina.
Oh, you get a 3-0 start to your season, so that works out well. I don't think that's a huge surprise. I think North Carolina has essentially just been a really solid football team, but they are not at that level that I believe Mac Brown can take them to. Remember, they used to roll out All-American after All-American. Remember, North Carolina used to be Dre Bly and Vonnie Holiday and Greg Ellis and Julius
Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, it was just so many of these guys that played there while Mac Brown was there. It's going to take some time, but give credit where credit's due. The ACC SEC is essentially right now a conference of Clemson and everybody else.
Yep.
I just want everybody else to be interesting. So show me interesting on a weekend basis. I can live with that for this year.
Yeah, good for Mac Brown and good for Wake Forest. You see the end of that ball game though, where they had the running play at the very end, and for whatever reason he doesn't get out of bounds. May have given himself a second to try to make something happen at the end of the ball game, but it was a good start for UNC at least.
Situational awareness hurt them. Something you don't want to hurt the Dogs. Dogs underway at home against Arkansas State. And I thought the biggest thing last week against Murray State was, the question I saw people tossing around, who got the most work? Was it the wide receiving core? Was it the young guys, the third and fourth guys on the depth chart? I still like the fact that even though they have a dominant offensive line, even though they still have one of the best running attacks in all of football, the third and fourth guys on the depth chart still got their yards per average. They still got their work in. The offensive line still got their work in, and that's what I want to see UGA do today. Make quick work of Arkansas State in the first half, but still get your work in, get your averages, still push people around, and still look good before you get ready for Notre Dame.
The embarrassment of riches they have right now. Remember, Jamari Sawyer started last week. Now, he's not going to start this week. He will get a chance to play. That was the number one guard in the country that showed up in Athens, and it's, okay, listen, you're like our right on the second team. You're right amongst the next five guys that'll play, and so that's the group that's then out there. So by the time you get to that third quarter, you're still rolling out 4- and 5-star guys. That's the embarrassment of what they have going on right now.
Yeah, and that's, as a coach, that's what you want to see against an inferior opponent like this. Is you don't want to see your team take a step back when your backups go into the ball game, and it's amazing, to say the least, to see what has happened on that offensive line of scrimmage in the few years that Kirby Smart has been here, and I expect all more of the same today.
Well, let's talk about the game right now. The Red Wolves do get a first down, but then Georgia's able to force them to get out of there in part with a havoc play, a big sack that had put them in bad field position at that point. The Red Wolves punt the football back over to Georgia. It goes out at the 40-yard line, and they'll start there 1st and 10. I'm curious to see if they keep doing what they're doing, which is they keep showing regularly two-back personnel. And not a fullback running back. This is going to be Swift, and this is going to be Cook. And we're going to line James Cook up in a place that's going to challenge the defense early on in a football game. Might be in the slot, might be in the backfield. We might use him for some jet sweep action, some eye candy. That's what they've been doing. I think that's the biggest change in their offense. I can't wait to see it play out today, too.
We have a situation where Brian Hoyt is off this week. I don't know why he was with us last week. I really don't.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
He missed his son's T-ball game.
Did you hear what his son did?
What did his son do? I did not hear this story.
So I tried to suggest this to Brian Hoyt. That his son turns 3 years old today, so that's why he's missing today.
Right.
3-year-old birthday party. So essentially he's got a 2-year-old playing 4- and 5-year-old T-ball baseball. I was like, dude, you don't understand. This isn't about starting them young. It's entirely possible that they're too young because the jump from one age group to the next age group at that age, 4-year-olds look completely different than 6-year-olds on a sports field. And so his son actually was playing in the outfield, unzipped his pants, and just urinated there in the field.
Well, he's a Hoyt.
That sounds like a Hoyt.
So yeah,
he is his father's son.
He didn't know any better. He just thought like, hey, I've been. This was supposed to go, right?
At least it wasn't the infield.
I don't have kids, so I don't know this. I may sound. Are the bones even hardened up at the age of 2? I mean, the cranium, is that fully developed at the age of 2?
They're good there from that standpoint because when they're babies, they're soft. It's like a soft egg up there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the problem. It's that the 2-year-olds, you just try and give them a, hey, I want you to chase this ball down. You have no idea if they'll actually chase the ball down or be in the right place for it.
They're watching butterflies in the outfield.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I was listening to you guys last week on my way to our 8th grade game, and I thought it was a bit. I heard him say, first game of T-ball, but, I'm going to be here for the team. And I really thought it was a joke till I got up to the station later and asked Murph about it. I'm glad, thanks for having me, and I'm glad, more than anything else, I'm glad Hoyt decided to do the father.
He didn't listen. Los tried to say to me, went to the suits and said, could you allow this man to be off on Saturday so he could go be with his son?
And you know what they said? They said yes.
Got it approved, and then Hoyt doesn't take advantage of his teammate looking out for him and comes in to work. You, sir, are going to be part of a team, too. You're going to be married in a couple of months. You're going to be leaving the world of the single man and joining a lot of us. Betrothed to another for the rest of your life, till death do you part.
For the rest of your life.
What I want to do is give you pearls of wisdom. I want to see if our listeners can help you out. And the first nugget I want to give you is something that my grandfather gave to my father, and then he gave to me. And now I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
I got that at the post office.
Oh, okay.
When I ran a little late one day. This is what I want to impart upon you. Do you want to be right, or do you want peace? Do you want to be right, or do you want peace? You just remember that.
You got to pick your battles.
Yeah,
that's a huge part.
I gotta say, so the whole backstory, we have been together for about 7 years now. We've lived together for about 4. So we have, some of the things that married couples have to get used to. Those that don't live together before getting married, we've already broken all that ice. So
living in sin.
But do you want to be right or do you want to stop the argument? That's something that I have struggled with longer than I should have. Because sometimes I just want to pry a little bit, but sometimes you pry too much, then your entire night.
Look into my eyes. I did the same thing you did when my dad told me, and it took me 3 years to figure it out. And you're going to ignore me for the first 2, 3, 4 years. But there's going to be a day where you're going to be right. You were right before you even got started talking about it. You're going to be right when you get done, but you're going to have to acquiesce in the sake of peace.
You're changing the dynamic here because if I'm shacked up with a girl, right? We're living together and hey, we're in love or this and this.
I believe in shacking up, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do before you ever consider marriage. But so if I've been with you for 2 or 3 years that way, we're still kind of cool and trendy and hip because you know what? We're kind of living in sin. Once you get married, you become like everybody else, and it changes the dynamic. Suddenly, it just is different.
Holy matrimony.
Right. It is. We've made an agreement here. We have a pact. And so that's the part where you have to end up going, okay, I'm going to pick my battles when it's time. Because your wife is going to mess stuff up just like you will. You just have to go like, all right, this one's worth it or this one's not.
Yeah. You have to get to bed and get to the next play.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sometimes it all just depends on what the mood is. All right. It's all. I mean, I'm learning. I'm getting better at it.
And always think about this. I always say this to mostly Chuck Oliver, because at times Chuck wants to complain or bitch about different stuff, and we're always like, "Where's the win?" We're like, right. The end game of it is the biggest factor. I'm like, why do you want to be right over what dryer sheets you bought?
Right.
That's the sort of stuff where you're like, listen, it's dryer sheets. All right.
Here's another one. You want to watch the game. You want to go to bed. You want to run the next play.
Touchdown, Georgia.
That's all you need to worry about. And there you go. The Dogs already in the end zone with just more than 9 minutes to go. Go right down the field. It looked like a big run. I couldn't tell if it was Brian Herrion or not that ripped off a big run.
You got a swing pass over to DeAndre Swift, who took it inside the 25-yard line, and then they just went ahead and pounded the football in from there. Brian Herrion finishing up the drive, scoring. It looks like about 3 yards out. Georgia pinning the extra point. Going to be up 7-0.
All right, we'll get you up to date with scores from around the college football world when we get back. This week coming up right here, week 3, is bigger than last week for both UGA and Georgia Tech for almost the same reasons. We'll tell you why next. Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney, home team Brandon Leak. We're broadcasting live from Sports and Social in the Battery, Atlanta. College Game Day here on The Fan, 680, 93.7 FM.
The Fan brings you every
Stream.
live
All right, Stream,
every
folks.
night, and we are
That
on
was a
your
segment of radio.
watch for Ronald Acuna Jr.
He's running.
I'm trying to think.
He's low.
I didn't learn how to
third and not in time. He steals third.
argue until about 4 years.
Here's the payoff pitch. High fly deep to center.
I always had to have the last word.
I'll give you a perfect example.
Monster home
So,
run for Ronald Acuna. His
my wife was
When
doing
the
her
kid
big
joins the club,
trip
you'll
that they
hear it
do every
live
single
on the
year where she's
home
like
of
out of town for a
Braves.
week. She has to
The
do a couple
Fan,
presentations, all that sort of
680
stuff.
and 93.7
But then that entire industry, what they do
It could mean
is as soon as they're
18
done with that
holes
show,
on a sunny day,
then it's going out time.
or a sense of
And that's what they
security
do.
in a
So they were in Nashville,
But having
which
extra
we were
money
just there
in
a couple
your
weeks ago.
pocket means more
So they were
to do
doing the same
things
honky
you
tonks
want to
and everything
do.
else like that.
And at LGE
Well,
Community Credit Union,
Her last
that's
night
what we're
there,
all about.
they finished up the whole
Helping you
show.
put more of
Everybody
your
was
paycheck to
flying
the
home the
life
next
you want
day.
to live.
She was flying
With
home
all
like in the
convenience
afternoon.
and services of
And
a
so
bank,
she got together with her
less
girls
fees and better
that
rates.
she used to run a
Like our
magazine
High
with.
Rewards checking, which pays a
I don't hear from her.
4% APY up
I
to
talked to her like 4 in the afternoon, and I don't hear from her.
Almost
The next time I heard from her was when I woke up and saw a text
and the
at 4
money goes
a.m.
right into your checking
that said,
So whether happiness
got back to my
means
room,
it
fell
shows up
asleep, I'll
now
tell you all
on the
about it
weekend
tomorrow morning,
or
blah, blah, blah,
at the
blah.
restaurant.
And I'm sitting back and I'm like,
LGE
first off,
membership means more money
bullshit,
to live
because you didn't
life
fall
your
asleep.
way.
You've been out
Join
partying
us
with the
today.
girls, this. I was like,
LGE Community Credit
you know
Union,
what?
A smarter way to bank.
I'm pretty sure you were corresponding with all of them as far as like, we're going here, we're doing this, we're doing this. I was like, at not one point did you ever say, hey, you can do this. Now, I could raise holy hell about that. But I don't. You let it go. Because I'm like, you know what?
Chrysler Ram brings you
the next time that I'm out with home team,
Jeep Gladiator.
you get a
Jasper
fucking
Jeep
phone call, you get shit.
Don't you ever say. I told you so. Upfront and easy. Online at
Even if she's dying for you to say it, if she's dead wrong, don't ever say I told you so.
It's the biggest battle of the season between the hedges as the Irish come to Athens for a once-in-a-lifetime game. And of course, the fans' tailgate is there with the
showed out.
Don't ever say I told you
presented
so.
by Cadillac and the XT6 crossover with drinks for Corona Extra, live music, and free food for Grill Dome. It's the only way to start this epic game day. Secure your free ticket now at 680TheFan.com/tailgate central. All part of our huge marathon tailgate series. Special thanks to Cadillac, Corona Extra, Monster Energy, Hello Fresh, Pop-Up, the Georgia Army National Guard, and the Georgia Beat Board.
Was it?
Hey, it's Stately with a question for you. Is your crawl space nasty, damp, and humid? Do you have high energy bills, high humidity?
James Graham isn't even dressed today.
Inside.
Oh, really?
Oh, boy. So, dude, he's growing it.
Could need some work. And if you have a vented crawl space, it's basically like keeping your front door open.
Dude, I'm throwing Jordan Yates out there. I don't care. This is one of the 4 games I'm throwing Jordan Yates out there.
The vents in your crawl
go out there in the second half of the football and get as
humidity then circulates.
Good for Georgia. They went pretty pink for this thing.
Mold spore growth.
Short period of time, too.
You know how you deal with it? AquaGuard Foundation Solutions. They're there to waterproof, encapsulate, and dehumidify your crawl space. They patented and proven systems, all nationally backed by lifetime.
I think about those years where I would work around steak in the morning.
Don't have any of that gross stuff happening to you.
Just didn't know what you'd get every morning.
Visit AquaGuard.net. They're my guys. They'll take care of you. AquaGuard.net. AquaGuard. Strength.
He's muttering.
Stability.
Then when he's on 100.
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
You don't know where he's going.
Yeah, that's
College football fans.
You hear that stream? That's how it goes. There are people, and
just like Dos Equis,
there are people that you work with where they are controlled by traffic they ran into,
named after it, and the only
stuff along those lines. Hey, I had a tough night, whatever. That it was hard getting my kids out of bed, and they show up and they bring that attitude to the station.
The palm was very tiring last night.
Yes, I do.
Let me tell you about the third.
Dos Equis beer brands, official beer.
I guess that probably is. That's the most stressful.
You looked closely.
I guess part of my job is the unknown. Because when everything is like scripted out and I'm ready to go, like I can prepare. If I'm prepared, then there are no screws.
The whole show is laid out.
Yeah, you don't want windows that decrease your view.
But when you don't have things mapped out, or you don't pay any attention to what's mapped out, back there when you're running a board, you're just playing a guessing game.
I know. That's a terrible feeling.
Are we going here next, or are we going there next?
I hear him every now and then start referencing something like, do we have that? And immediately I'm thinking to myself, you're off script. You're off of what the plan was. Because you shouldn't be asking whether
time on budget,
whether or not you have a piece of audio. That should just be understood. Hey, we're going to play these 3 pieces during this segment.
Where's the glass? In vinyl windows from Exovations. That's where. Schedule your free quote today at exovations.com.
They're beat up that poor kid today.
EXOVATIONS.com.
Yeah.
680TheFan's College Football Saturday, powered by Georgia's Own Credit Union. Become one of Georgia's Own now at georgiasown.org.
Like he's getting to the sidelines, he's looking up.
The
He's like
Fans College Game Day, live from Sports and Sword, keeping you up to speed on all the afternoon college action on the college football voice of the South. The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
Welcome back in to 680 College Game Day, live from Sports and Social here in the Battery, Atlanta. Home team Brandon Lee, Carlos Medina, and Sean Nerney here until about 2:50 today before we turn the controls over to Braves baseball as the Braves beat up Max Scherzer last night. We got that bum. Last time we saw the Nationals, we got to Strasburg. We beat him up. So now we're taking aces and people who are supposed to be lights out on the mound, and we're beating them up like they're chopped liver.
Magic number?
It is down to 6, brother.
This really screams early to midweek clinch possibility. I know a lot of us have kind of circled the Thursday day game on the calendar. Like, okay, it should be done by then. I kind of hope it does, because at that point that'll just wipe out Chuck and Chernoff show, because we'll be celebrating. We'll be celebrating the Braves for the remainder of the afternoon.
Open up your own champagne.
Exactly.
I'll be at the game on Sunday, so I'm hoping that we somehow screw up a little bit this week and we can hold it all the way to Sunday.
Just delay it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the Dogs are in control. They just forced another 3 and out. They're up 7-0 over Arkansas State. Big week for them and for Georgia Tech, and I thought so because, as we were saying before, this is the final tune-up game before you get into some real stuff. And I don't think Notre Dame is as scary as a lot of people are trying to make it out to be, but it is a game where you could be in some trouble at some point in the game. So this is the final week of tune-up for UGA, and they need to make sure that they execute, that they play clean football. They're not a penalty-laden team. They're still running the ball for the yards per carry that they want. They still are getting the passes out to where they want to go, and their defense is still aggressive, attacking, and smothering. You do not want penalties. You do not want unnecessary 3-and-outs. You do not want missed assignments. Your final tune-up game before Notre Dame.
And I want health. And let's be very honest, like Notre Dame's going to be probably about a 10 or 12 point dog in Athens. They're still good enough to beat you. And so it is important to be right on top. We always talk about mind your P's and Q's, your pints and quarts, like make sure you're on top of your business. Everything you just mentioned, I want to make sure everybody's alignment sound. I want to make sure we're taking care of everybody as far as your assignments in the defensive backfield. All those little things so that by the time Ian Book and that group shows up in Athens, you're a well-oiled machine ready to play that level of football.
Yeah, the only reason that Notre Dame beats you a week from now is if you're blowing assignments. If you look like the Falcons did in week 1, you could lose to Notre Dame. Well, obviously, you probably will lose to Notre Dame if you look that bad on the football field. Ian Book, the one thing he can do, he doesn't scare me, incredibly as a pocket passer. He can extend plays with his feet. So today's game, the first couple games, tune-up games for Georgia, for me have been more about this defense. Listen, we know the offensive line can run the football. We know that you can run behind that veteran line. We know that Jake Fromm's not going to lose you any ball games. He can win you some ball games as well. Defensively, it's all about assignment football going into Notre Dame. If you can go up there, you can keep Ian Book contained inside of a pocket, not let him extend plays, because as good as your DBs and your LBs are, they can only cover for so long, all right? So it's all about getting those assignments down, keeping the quarterback inside of a pocket with pressure so Book can't extend plays a week from today. So stay healthy. It's that simple, Kirby. Stay healthy and play assignment football.
And try throwing the ball a little bit is what I would say, Los. Work out your wide receivers. See what kind of timing and rhythm you can get with Jake Fromm and his wide receiving core. And this is the last game where you can maybe try some stuff, open it all the way up, take the governors off just to see everything that you possibly have.
Well, baby A.J. Green just got down the field for about a 25-yard gain. George Pickens just took them inside, just outside, down to the 21-yard line. But, yeah, that's a kid who's a major factor for them offensively, who's now starting to play earlier and earlier in these football games. And so you want to talk about an explosive player on the outside? You knew you had talent. You knew you had a lot of 4- and 5-star guys, and it was who was going to emerge. It's interesting to see that 5-star kid get into games this early now and make plays.
And the way that Kirby Smart kind of gloated about his blocking, as opposed to, listen, we've seen the one-handed grab. We saw the catch he had a week ago. The dude is A.J. Green-esque, baby A.J. Green, in the way that he can haul balls in. But the fact that the head coach went out of his way to mention how this guy blocks downfield. And when you are a run-based, it is what it is. Right now, you are a run-based offense. When you have receivers that can block down the field like that, your head coach notices it. And when you're a true freshman, it makes it more likely that he'll put you in game-time situations.
You don't get on the field for Georgia right now unless you're sound in the blocking game.
Right.
Demetrius Robinson showed up here and barely got on the field last year because you're not being physical enough. Terry Godwin, I remember those first couple of years, Coach Smart rode Terry Godwin pretty hard. His last year, he was probably the best receiver that they had as far as a complete guy, but it was about blocking. It was about you're going to have to be a tougher player on the outside for us to depend on you to play the style that we want. So if you got a freshman doing it right now, good for them.
Coming up in about 5 minutes, are these folks going to get it right for college athletes, or are they going to mess it up for everybody? We'll get to that. For Georgia Tech, I think this is important. Just like Georgia, you want to make sure everything is hitting smoothly so you get to Notre Dame hitting on all cylinders. For Georgia Tech, they need to win this game to, one, make sure they have a winning record. It's going to be an interesting season for Georgia Tech. You don't know what the record might turn out to be. What you don't want to do is be under 500, chasing 500, chasing your other opponents and chasing yourself in the standings. This is an opportunity to beat a team where you should have better talent. You're a team that's played against the option in practice for the last decade plus, and these guys that are on this team have seen it before, and you want to make sure you get to 2-1, beat a team you're supposed to beat, and get into a mode where you have a winning record when you go on the road to take on Temple for your next big real game.
Yeah, and some news coming out of the Flats already. James Graham, who we talked about last segment, is the only guy who hasn't started under center so far this year. He's out today due to injury, so it's going to be a lot more of Lucas Johnson and Tobias Oliver. And and I even floated this out during the break, and I asked Johan when we did our Talking Tech segment a few days ago, is this one of the 4 games that you use Jordan Yates? I know you got 4 games to play him, and you can still use the red shirt on him. This is the true freshman out of Milton High School, led his team to a state title a year ago. True freshman, true, but this is a game that I think because of how well your defense is playing, you're going to be in control of this game and by the second half, and you could have an opportunity for a guy like Jordan Yates to go out there and kind of get his first few plays or under scrimmage or under center in this new offense. I say, if you're up comfortably, why not throw him out there?
I think you should.
So much of this entire season is about experimentation. We've heard Coach Collins bring up the fact that they had 13 scholarship running backs, and that was in part because of the old system they were running. They were having to figure out, where else can I play you? What else can we mix and match and do? I'm right there with you. If that means getting Yates on the field early just to see what you got because you got the 4 games as a redshirt, makes some sense. Remember, Citadel is going to be one of the teams that you're going to play where you are much more talented than. That wasn't the case last week, and it certainly wasn't the case against Clemson. And as you get into ACC play, the talent really evens out with what Tech is rolling out there in comparison to everybody else. So, yeah, use this as a tune-up game. Get yourself situated and keep experimenting and finding good things.
And to some of what you just said, today is going to be the last day that Georgia Tech is going to be the better team on the field. If they're going to win more games, it's going to be because they execute, they get turnovers, they sting people early with some scoring plays, they win on special teams. They're not going to be the most talented team on the field moving forward. So this is the last day that they have a chance to do that, and they need to take full advantage of it. And I'm with you, Nerdy. I think you get Yates out there and just let him see what he can do. Obviously, you need to win the game. So if you're up 3 scores and you're going into the 4th quarter, I'd say put him in, let him get his college bones worked out and see what the guy can do.
Listen, Jeff Collins and company, they want to get as many wins for these seniors as they possibly can this year. With that said, this season is not about wins and losses. This is about progressing week to week, looking at finding out what you have on the roster, what you can do a year from now, because that's when it's going to start to matter for this team. And that's why I'm looking at Jordan Yates and I'm thinking, listen, this is the guy of the future. This is a guy that can throw. He is a true dual threat quarterback, 4-star guy for Rivals out of high school. This is a guy that can throw the football and run this system. So, I'm looking towards the future today. And Johan, I believe his argument to me this past Tuesday was that, by the time he gets in the ball game, you're probably winning. You're not trying to put up more points. Forget that. This isn't about today, okay? Like Citadel, I respect you, okay? I'm not going to try to embarrass you on the football field, but I got to find out what I have moving forward to year 2.
You just said something that I adore you right now, Nerdy. And typically I adore you, but even more so right now. You have perspective. Because I'll give you an example. I asked my wife the other day, Georgia grad, huge Georgia fan. I go, remember the first year of Kirby? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, what do you mean, yeah? That 7-5 season where they lost on homecoming to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Where they obviously had the crazy play that happened in Neyland Stadium.
When Tennessee as time expires.
Right back down the field on them. Those 5 losses, not a whole lot of fun. But it was about the implementation of culture, and this is the direction we're going for not just this year, but for future years coming. That's every program. That's not just what's going on at Georgia Tech. I know some people, Georgia fans, other people, look, they're making excuses for Tech. You just went through it. You just forgot about what it was like implementing a new culture and trying to get those standards up. That's why when Ernie says if it's not about winning against Citadel, it's about what I'm building for what's going to be the next few years with some of these younger guys.
There is a sweeping change that might be coming. Is it a firecracker or is it a nuke? 2 states now are starting to approach something that has been sacred in college football for a long time. In California, along with South Carolina, California getting a little bit more of the news because their decision could have negative consequences because they haven't worked out all of the details. But California looking closely at a bill that is designed to help students and student athletes in particular get paid from endorsements and their likenesses. They're calling it the pay-to-play bill.
So Fair Pay, Fair Play Act.
And it's one of those deals where people feel strongly about it, Los. I don't think people are going to change their minds about it, Los. Nerdy, I think people and this issue have drawn their lines in the sand. My ultimate opinion is, in some form or fashion, it is going to happen. Student athletes will be able to either go out and get a job and get paid, or use their likeness and get endorsements and get paid.
It's going to do two things. I have said for years that we are looking at the final days of the NCAA, that organization is going to suffer a death, and we'll move on from it. And what we're going to have soon enough is going to be super D1 college football, basically the Power 5,
right?
Who will go under their own sets of rules and do their own things, and here's a commissioner. And you know what it's going to look like? It's going to look like big-time football, which includes endorsements and everything else. Then you'll have everybody else in college football. Similar to European soccer. Here's the Premier League, and now you've been relegated down to a lower league. That's kind of how it's going to be. Because this bill, if it goes through, essentially takes the entirety of the Pac-12 and goes completely different rules. You are now no longer NCAA compliant, and those schools are going to look at it and go, tough. This is what's going to happen.
Within the NCAA bylaws, it is illegal. It is against the rules for student athletes to get endorsement money as amateur athletes. So you're going to create a problem with already procured agreements that charter members and universities have agreed to that you can't do. And there's going to be a state that says, yeah, the kids in our state, the schools in our state, yeah, actually they can.
Yeah, and listen, I think this is scheduled to go into effect in, I think, 2023.
Correct.
So it's not something that's going to happen imminently. They've got some time on this. I think more than anything, this is going to be the catalyst for the NCAA to get off their butt and actually address this issue. I think because of this, now they've already come out and said that they'll penalize the schools that do this by not letting them into bowl games or the playoffs or
look at that.
Exactly. And I don't think, I think it's posturing by both sides. But the fact that, and I'll say this, I mean, it's not a partisan issue. It passed in California
73 to nothing,
and it passed in South Carolina. These are two states with completely different politics.
One's Democrat and all the way blue. One is all the way red.
Yeah.
And on both sides of the coast to coast,
yep,
you had 100% of people say, you know what, these kids need to get a little something.
And that's actually after the fact, because going into it, there were people that were against this that ended up, after hearing the arguments for it, changing their vote and getting behind this bill. So there is something behind it. I think the fact that it's not saying colleges are paying athletes. It's not coming from the colleges. It's coming from outside businesses. You know, if you're in, Sacramento, a shoe store wants to endorse your kicker for a new cleat. That means that he can go get that money. Now, I think that California has their version of what's out there. I think the NCAA now has a little bit of time to come up with their version of the whole, likeness and imaging. And this goes back, NCAA, I blame nobody but the NCAA for this. They've had years to address this issue. Since they took away my beloved NCAA football game for Xbox.
Right.
Since that time, when was that? 20? Was that 14?
We're now,
13,
I think we're in
14?
year 7 or 8 with not having that.
I mean, and selfishly, that's what I care about. I want that back.
All because you couldn't cut the kids a check.
But I think because now you're seeing the states take this stand, you're gonna force the NCAA to actually look into this issue. Now, it may not be exactly what's written out in California, but they'll come back with, okay, well, how about this? How about we put it into a fund for them? They can't get it right away. Freshmen aren't eligible for this, and they'll come some kind of some middle on this type of thing.
And I think this is where I keep going back to this. The NCAA made it a point on Thursday and Friday to reach out to the governor of California with it was no longer we don't think this is a good idea. It was, please don't do this, please don't do this, please. Okay, they're now begging because they know what's going to happen, and they know that it is the end of NCAA power. This is an organization where for years they've been able to tell a team like Missouri, hey, you had this happen? Well, guess what? Bowl ban and all these sort of things. But we self-reported it. We told you everything that happened. We looked into it. We punished the kids. We're going to show you. Bowl ban. Well, guess what? You can't really do that to the state or federal government. The NCAA does not have that kind of power. Right. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to go, hey, you guys, shut up. Go away. Just shut up. And the NCAA is at the point now where they have to figure out how to alter their model to fit what people actually want. It's not going the other way around where the NCAA gets to dictate their model to everybody else.
And I have my opinions, and you can weigh in 404-231-1680, the number to get in. College Game Day, live from Sports and Social. Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney, home team Brandon Leak. You can weigh in on this situation, and it's always going to evoke passion. My question would be, because I've become a 180. I used to be, don't pay it. You got to go to school. You're there to play football and learn, and you're getting a college education. But I've gone the other way because for me, it's been, if they don't get anything from endorsements, how does that impact me? If they get millions of dollars from endorsements, how does that impact me? And so it doesn't impact me if they do, student athletes do get the opportunity to make money off of their likenesses, which I think they should. I would just like to talk to people who say, no, you should never have it, and just to hear the why of that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there could be some compromise out there. Now, I don't necessarily think that, a true freshman walking on campus just because he's had, excellent marketing coming from whatever, his family or whatever, who was marketing him out of high school, sign up for $1 million endorsement as soon as he gets to school. I think you can put rules. Freshmen aren't eligible. Much like, programs have rules. Freshmen have to live on campus. Freshmen can't live off campus.
Freshmen can't do live interviews in the SEC.
Exactly. Put stuff on the. I don't have a problem with it. Now,
on the radio.
From this point. Now, I don't think that you can get into the whole. I think this is a good way to tip your toe into the water as far as, schools paying players. I'm not on board with that right away.
No, you're not an employee.
But listen, man, if your school or if Nike or whoever is selling your jersey with your likeness on it, making millions of dollars off of it, who are we to say that you can't at the very least take a percentage of that, put it in a fund for when he graduates college or he leaves for the NFL, and he can take that money with him.
The only issue I've ever had with this, and I'm still for, you don't pay these guys. Okay. Now, if you make it off of, hey, you know what, he went and signed some autographs, went and had his jersey, this and this, and there's a percentage of that, the model that Nerny's talked about is completely fine. The bigger thing that I keep going back to is when people go into this, they downplay the importance of going to college and not having debt. Because that's essentially the trade-off for these athletes.
Very good
They
point.
don't come out of college. An institute like Vandy. Okay, Vanderbilt, when James Franklin was there, he would always tell everybody about $137,000. That is the value of a Vandy education. A student who shows up to go to Vanderbilt for 4 years is getting an education worth $137,000. You're getting it for free. Okay, that's where I when people start playing, well, we should pay these players. No, this is what they're getting.
See, that's the
only area where I don't get comfortable with it.
That's where I have changed, because I do understand where anybody who says that there is value in education, and I am totally against anybody saying there is no value in going to college and getting a degree from any university. Anybody who's doing that is the devil, is what I'm going to tell you. You're the devil, because you shouldn't be telling young people that. However, I will say that there is something to what I have earned, and I say that to say, yes, the value of a Vanderbilt education might be $137,000, but if I have earned an academic scholarship, and that's the word I think we need to use. People think you're given your scholarship, you're given your room and board.
You've got to earn it every year.
You've earned that, and so they have earned that, and what you earn is a spot at Vanderbilt, at Tennessee, at Georgia. You earned your spot. What do you do to keep it or lose it? That's up to you. Once you earn your spot, that's yours, and that's why I think the endorsement and likeness situation is separate. I've earned my spot, still got to stay eligible, still got to do my grades, still got to go to class, still got to play well on the football field, but I've earned that. What I'm talking about is separate from you. And so if Zamir White or Wanye Thomas wants to cut a deal with 680 The Fan and do a show every week and is allowed to do it, why should they not be able to do it?
Well, and not everybody has a full scholarship. And not every player, right? And not every player got that full scholarship from day one on campus. Some of these guys had to pay for a full year of tuition and then earned a scholarship. So why can't those guys that are still not under full scholarship, a local business wants to do a commercial with them and give them a check? Well, I can't do it, but I'm still not under scholarship. The smaller schools out there, they don't offer free rides. Say you're at Stanford University, you're not you don't, or whatever, a college that doesn't give full rides or whatever. Local company wants to put you in a local commercial.
Your town.
You can't do it under
your
the
town
NCAA right now.
Wants to sponsor you to make sure that our kid has a great college experience, a little money in his pocket.
And I'll say that it's going to be, the most obvious choices for these, marketing PR type things for these companies are the big name guys that are under scholarship.
Sure.
But it's not every one of those guys is going to be a big name guy under a scholarship.
The world has changed quite a bit as far as some of the things that are available out there. Mm-hmm. Like I know that I've been pushing streaming, and hey, we got to stream more. We're streaming this show. Hey, how's it going? Stream. Do you realize this really goes back 3 years ago? 3 years ago, the NCAA went to a kicker at Central Florida.
Oh, my goodness.
And said, that YouTube channel of yours has to go.
Right? Oh, my goodness.
Because, remember, people that have a certain amount of subscribers, you can generate revenue from essentially the stuff you're putting out there. So if it's kicking videos or telling jokes or here's what my life looks like or whatever, that's a way of making money. And the NCAA went, no, you can't possibly make money off your likeness while being an NCAA athlete. Well, hell no. And guess what? Now the state of South Carolina and California are going to take that power away from you.
And the other part of it is, we're not talking about children. Aren't you grown at 18? Can't you go sign up for the Army and go off and fight for your country? Can't you vote? Can't you go get married and buy a house?
You can go buy all the smokes you want. You can go fight a war if you want. You can go vote if you want. Yeah.
So we're talking about grown people. You're telling grown men.
If you have a fake ID, you can drink.
Well, if you're 17, then yes, you can do all those things that the grown people can do. The point is, you're telling grown people what they can't do with their spare time, with their likeness, with their short window to maximize off of what they are able to do. So there are going to be people who will not change. You're there. You're only there because the university gave you an opportunity. You need to just go to school, play football, and get what you can out of it. Tim Tebow did not agree that you should pay, and I agree with, if he doesn't want to take any time or take any money or sell any T-shirts or sell any Tebow Mania things when he's out there, he has a right not to do that too. I just think if you want to do it and it doesn't interfere or impede with the other agreements that you have gone into as a student athlete, you should be able to do it.
Poor Tebow. He's the last guy who needs to comment on this because it doesn't matter what he says. He is such a lightning rod that everybody, immediately it's all dogpile Tebow, and then there's like one person out there that's like, what he says makes sense.
Yeah, and he's entitled to his opinion.
It's an opinion. Guess what? I don't fully agree with it. I agree with a portion of it, but at the same time, anything that takes down the NCAA, I'm on board with. So if this is the conduit to make that happen, I'm like, hell yeah, let's make this thing happen.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, he talked about, it should be for the love, you should be playing for the love of the game. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I love the game, but I'm a capitalist too. What's wrong with that?
You can't be a part-time capitalist. You're all in or you're all out.
Dude, let me tell you, I used to love spring break when I was playing college baseball because spring break, since all the university essentially shuts down, the coaching staff, it's all in the rules, has to give you a daily stipend that's the equal of, because the cafeteria shut down. So you're getting like $50 a day to eat, which is like more than we get here.
That's a whole lot.
Yeah, so it's like here was your $50 a day for the 5 days. So I was like, man, spring break is good. Like I'm gonna make some money.
I'm gonna eat some Nutter Butter for the rest of the week and pocket this.
I was like, I'm gonna eat a whole lot of just little microwavable Easy Macs, and I'm gonna pop
ramen noodles, brother.
You just said Nutter Butters. Did you see the newest rendition of Nutter Butter?
No, what have they done?
Dude, they took the Nutter Butter and they covered it with fudge. It's a fudge-covered Nutter Butter.
Ain't a whole lot of stuff wrong with fudge.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I know.
That's unfair.
I know. It's deadly combination.
That's unfair, and I'm going to be getting some of that unfairness now when we leave the show. Did you see Texas? They broke out their spreadsheet. They went and looked at the information. They went and plugged it into the computer, and apparently the temperature in the locker room that Ed Ogeron said was a little bit off or broken. They said the LSU locker room for the visitors at Texas was just fine.
Wait, okay, first question. Okay, the picture of the spreadsheet. What is this? A spreadsheet of what temperature it was? I mean, did they have to call the utility company? Do they really have this?
Google Home.
Is this a real thing?
Alexa, I don't know what they plugged into that thing. They had a spreadsheet that said what the temperatures were at certain times, and they could document that the air conditioning was not broken when LSU came into Texas last week.
Can't they just say, listen, in the interest of gamesmanship, we put it up to like 85. That's what we did.
Who's expecting a nice locker room? I mean, I remember back when I was, and this was more high school than college, and I wasn't playing Division I college, so it's obviously a big step down. But I remember in high school where some of the visiting locker rooms, you only had room for like a third of the team inside the locker room. So you would take like the third of the team that was going to play the most snaps, and everybody else just kind of like hung out in the grass outside of the building.
And every visiting locker room smells like zoo dirt and autopsy.
Yeah, none of them had air conditioning.
Right.
The nature of it.
It's not supposed to be pleasant.
But with that said, I'll say this. Whatever report, TPS report, screen graph that they put out on this AC thing, they're playing them. They caught themselves in a lie. They said it was set at 68, but then it says that at one point during the game it was 75 degrees in there. So at the very least, they need a tune-up in that thing.
Where do you keep your house at?
I keep my house at 73 when we don't have company, and 74 when we do. I don't want to freeze people. I'd rather have a colder house.
I've been 74 to 72.
Okay.
Especially this summer, though. It's been so hot, it's been 72.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I run really hot, so I like it cold. But so 72 at night, though, for whatever reason, keeps it really cool in my apartment.
Okay.
In my old place, I would go down to like 68, 69 at night at times. But yeah, during the day, I try to be a little more efficient, around 75-ish.
That's a little warm.
It's a little warm in there.
But it's cool. We're on the terrace level of our thing, so or not really a terrace, the main level. So it stays relatively cool down there.
Yeah, I would rather much be colder and then remove items than to be hot and there's nothing.
You know what the other thing is that our thermostat is in a very suspect area. It's like right behind the television. So I think that it's registering a little hotter than it actually is.
That's something else. And if you have some nuggets, some pearls of wisdom for Sean Nerdy, who's getting married in a couple of months, do so. That's another thing. Whatever she wants the temperature on, let her have it.
I can't do it. See that? That is something that I step down with. And
you see him, Los? You see him point his finger?
It's for her benefit, too, because if it's too warm and I'm going to bed, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night, and I would have, basically saturated you with my sweat if it's too warm.
By the way, it's now 20-0 in Athens as Jake Fromm finds Dominic Blaylock, another one of their talented freshman wide receivers. He just went down the field. Tyler Simmons, though, that's going to be something to watch moving forward. He got tackled out of bounds. Looked like he came down hard on his forearm or his wrist. Immediately went to the medical tent. So that's another person that we'll be keeping an eye on during the course of this game and obviously during the week before they play Notre Dame.
I'm so ready for next week because, Jake Fromm I don't even know why people criticize the man, but he's been so poised and so consistent. I'm ready to see him get out there against one of the big boys early in the season, do what he's been doing, and see if the Dogs can win by double digits, which is what I expect him to do next week anyway.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about what they're doing with him, they're sending him to the line of scrimmage with multiples of plays, and his job is to figure out which play is going to work the best. It was you had a situation where Andrew Luck got that sort of acclaim back when he was in college. We send him to the line of scrimmage with 3 plays, he picks out the best one. You're able to do that with Fromm because he's such a film rat and so good at being able to handle the mental part of the game. That's why I think he's going to be one of those guys. When he gets drafted, it's going to be, all right, you're going to be a starter really fast in the NFL because you can handle the mental game very easily.
And they have the term game manager, but what you just described there is more than a game manager.
It's a tactician out there.
It's more than not hurting your team. It's putting your team in the best possible position pre-snap. So that, anybody wants to say, well, he's a game manager. But that kind of stuff right there, that takes your talent to the next level.
All right, when we get back, we had a member of the team who didn't do the right thing last week as he missed one of his children's events. Brian Hoyt is off this week as he is attending a child's event. Which events are okay for you to miss when your children are involved? We'll ask the daddy on the show. Coming up next, Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney, Home Team Brandon Leak. We're live from Sports and Social. This is 680 College Game Day here on The Fan, 680 93.7 FM.
Next Saturday, it's the big...
Need one of those Sport and Social Conference Championship
I will
mentions.
do that. I was looking for it on my phone.
And of course, the Fans tailgate is there with a big...
Yeah, I didn't see an updated read. I'm not sure
but
if
I
there is
saved
one or
it.
not.
You sent me an email last week. I just
20 XT6 crossover with drinks
are you
from
doing
Corona
updates?
Extra,
I didn't
live
do an
music,
update last time.
No, I was waiting on Rhino. Rhino's going to do it from the breaks here on out.
at 680thefan.com/tailgate central. All part of our huge marathon tailgate.
I might have texted that one. Let me see.
What's it called?
Monster Energy Grill Dome.
It is, I don't know. I don't even
I have
know.
a read pack
And the Georgia Beef Board.
They got a first down.
At a 3-year
Would it be in a regular
you could
read
save
pack?
thousands annually with just a
Let me look. I didn't see it in the new one. Hold on.
half mortgage. Trust me, it worked for me. They have saved me thousands so far, and every single month it's another $397. Hey, folks, it's Chuck Oliver, and if you have a rate anywhere near 4%, it's time to follow the bright path to savings just like I did. I'm telling you guys, take advantage of these
Try under 680 College Game Day.
680.
professionals to make it easy for you. They'll give you the personal personal attention you deserve, and most importantly, they're going to save you real money every single month. See for yourself. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google.
Let me let me text it to you again. I think I sent it in a picture last week. I'll just send it again right now. So yeah, just one of those per hour.
707-6330 or brightpath.com.
1200 Ashford Parkway, Suite 200, Atlanta, Georgia, 30338. NMLS number 177208. Georgia license 24109. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
At BMW, we're on a never-ending journey to bring you the most innovative vehicles possible. That's why
we are looking at
how many invitations? That's a better question.
Oh gosh, we dropped. How many? We were at like 70-ish. I feel like.
All right, so if you get driver assistance systems with available new
50 to
features
65
like automatic lane change.
Yeah, so I'm sure not everybody we invite is going to show up.
Enhance the driving experience by providing seamless hands-free.
We got a big game tonight, man. Centennials, they got a good team.
Performance you've come to expect from BMW.
So only night game 7.
But this all adds up to a more intuitive, exhilarating, and rewarding
Citadel High School
for the driver.
It's up on the.
Not every journey.
It's in like Alpharetta. It's kind of the next drive in here.
Ask Tracy what she's doing. Come up, check you guys out.
Driving machine.
During BMW's
Is it only night game?
Yeah, usually we play at 1.
September 10th through the
Ask her what she's
14th,
doing.
receive
She might be down.
$1,000
We were saying
for
we
the
have
new BMW with your test drive. Visit
Her brother's best friend
BMWATL.com
is a
for
coach at Woodward
details.
Academy.
Matt Stinchcomb here for Engineered Solutions of Georgia, proud partner of the Georgia Bulldogs. Did you know that Engineered Solutions of Georgia has a real estate
told him we need to start going a little bit more
is to make the process as smooth as possible for both parties.
I got you, Murph.
In the end, the seller wants to sell the house.
Cool.
But if there's a foundation problem, it has to be fixed. Engineered Solutions of Georgia helps bridge the gap between the buyer and seller with
Stream looks good.
Give Engineered Solutions of Georgia
Thank y'all for following us on the stream. 680TheFan.com is the way to go. Carlos, boy, he's slimmed down. He's working out
here, and I have been.
I'm gonna use him for motivation.
For over a decade now of how
I dropped
awesome
a few LBs over the summer, and then I started backsliding.
Duffy Realty is at selling homes.
You know what I got?
Honda
It's
sold
the,
3 of my homes.
we
and
bought it 2 years ago.
$35,000.
So I got plantar fasciitis like 2 years ago. I couldn't run.
Oh, Tracy has it.
It hurts. Like it legitimately hurts. So you have to find something else to do if you want to.
Rhonda has done this year
How
after
many things
year.
you do that don't impact your foot? You know,
money you save.
getting one of those Bowflex max trainers. And that thing, I call it the machine of death.
More money to stay in the deal.
It's legit.
Quicker win for you and your buyer.
It works. It's hard. It's fun. And it's 14 minutes.
Duffy experts by specialty wrote the book on what it takes to sell.
My kind of workout right there.
Your part's easy.
Okay.
So after halftime,
8-minute
Falcons game, I can get on the Bowflex. I'm done.
So
maybe I'm good.
So here's the app, right?
Money matters. So call Duffy today and let Rhonda rock for you. DuffyRealtyATL.com.
That's what you burn 14-minute workout.
Okay.
It's like you're gonna be
college football fans. Remember,
well, you'll feel like it was death,
football
but after you're done with it, they feel pretty good.
The only beer brewed to be held like
I might get on it today.
The one beer with the Blitz package named after it, and the only cerveza scientifically proven to taste like victory.
7-0 Citadel, baby.
Oh no!
Maybe it was that first drive.
Playoff.
They go down the first drive.
Lucas Johnson started. They did nothing.
Oh no! You had the ball first.
Yeah, we had the ball first. They punted away. Here's the worst part. Citadel started on their own 1-yard line.
680 The Fan. Football sports page.
Good afternoon. It's me, Rhino, with the Georgia United Credit Union scoreboard. Good news, bad news for Georgia. The Dogs have an early 20-0 lead. Brian Herrion with a rushing touchdown, and to start the second quarter, Jake Fromm hit John Venezuela. Oh hell moment! Bad news. Receiver Tyler Simmons went into the medical tent with an injured right hand. At the end of the first, number 6 Ohio State is off to a slow start versus Indiana, but they do lead 7-3. Number 21 Maryland is struggling early as they trail Temple 7-2. Some other scores just underway. Number 13 Penn State and Pittsburgh, they were in a weather delay. Actually, they're not ranked yet, but Tennessee might get their first win of the season. They lead 28-0 in the second quarter versus Chattanooga.
Still.
And Georgia Tech and the Citadel. Local action with about 5 minutes left in the first. Georgia Tech trails the Citadel 7-0. With the Georgia United Credit Union College Scoreboard, I'm Rhino, and you're listening to the most powerful voice in sports. The Fan, 680 93.7 FM.
This is College Football Saturday on 680 The Fan. Powered by Georgia Credit Union. The Fan's College Game Day, live from Sports and Social at the Battery Atlanta. We've got college scores and stats all afternoon on the college football voice of the South. The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
That's
in your way.
Whoa, that's some fun stuff right there.
Yeah, if you don't touch DeAndre Swift, he's going to run for a long, long time. Huge run by DeAndre Swift. Dogs in total control of 20-0. Second quarter, about 12 minutes to go in the first half in Athens. Down on the flats, and Bobby died. Citadel, they get a stop, they get the ball, they get a score, and the Citadel leading Georgia Tech 7-0 early in the first quarter.
Yeah, it looks like Lucas Johnson got the start under center for the Jackets. Citadel forces a punt, and then they start the next drive from their own 20-yard line drive all the way down the field. Tech loses contain on a triple option, which we've said earlier they should have plenty of experience practicing against that. And then Citadel going through the air for I think a 25-30-yard score on blown coverage. So Citadel came to play today, and it's time for the Jackets to step up and answer.
It's College Game Day live from Sports and Social. That's Sean Nerney, Carlos Medina, and home team Brandon Leak. I want to remind you, we're going to be here all year long. College Game Day is your headquarter for college football scores all season long. You need to come by the Battery here at Sports and Social, and the reason why, because we're pretty decent guys. The other reasons, because all season long you can register for a conference championship game day experience that will include pregame at Sports and Social, transportation to 680 The Fan's championship tailgate party, and 2 tickets to the championship game taking place in the Benz December 7th. We're also giving away a VIP table at Sports and Social for the conference championship, and that will come with a $2,000 tab. Stay tuned for registration details. Stay tuned to 680 The Fan. You try to help Hoyt. He's a young father. He's learning. You're seasoned in the game. Nerney's about to get married. He's going to be a father probably one day. What are the events you can't miss? You have 2 little girls. Sometimes you have athletes. Sometimes you have dancers and little princesses and actresses. And sometimes they're just little people. What are the events as a father you can't miss?
If it's important to them, it needs to be important to you.
Amen, brother.
And quite honestly, I didn't miss last week's soccer game. As soon as we were off the air, went for a soccer game. I will miss this week's soccer game. Soccer is something that's fun in the house, but it's not that serious as of yet. Swim meets, can't miss swim meets. Swim meets, the girls both swim really well, and so there's that. And then they're the ones that I think it's a bigger factor. If your absence is going to make things hell on your spouse, those are the ones you can't miss either. Because, for instance, Hoyt, hey, it was a baseball game last week. Not a big deal. It's fine. It's a 3-year-old birthday party this afternoon.
Oh boy,
multiple kids.
Got to be there for that.
You got to be there for that. And so I've had this balancing act, and management's been really cool about working with me on this sort of stuff, because there's some of those weeks where you just say, listen, if I'm not here for this, my wife's going to want to choke me. And they're just like, okay, totally understood. So yeah, you gotta kind of play that game. If it's important to them, it needs to be important to you.
We're family oriented around here at Dickey Broadcasting, 680 The Fan and the Sports X. When we get back, the Dogs need to make sure that they and we see this when this game is over. We'll tell you what it is. Sean Nerney, Carlos Medina, home team Brandon Leak, 680 College Game Day live from Sports and Social in the Battery Atlanta on the Fan, 680 93.7 FM.
680 The Fan's College Football Saturday, powered by Georgia's Own Credit.
They got to put Jordan Yates in the game. Lucas Johnson can't throw.
Georgia'sOwn.org.
Can't throw.
Well, that last throw wasn't
Hey guys, it's me, Ryan. If you're a school teacher and you could use an extra $500, attorney Ken Nugent wants to help you out this football season.
Again. He's already scored once.
For every game this season, I'm donating to 2 teachers $500 each.
To register to win, go to attorneyKenNugent.com and 2 teachers will win $500 every game.
And remember, if you need an attorney, you can reach us at *Ken on your mobile phone. That's *KEN.
One call.
That's all.
Ken Nugent is a proud partner of the Atlanta Falcons.
Stats Brew Pub is the ultimate location to watch your favorite sporting event, host your next private party, or enjoy a great meal with friends. We offer tried and true American favorites that are sure bets to please every palate. We've even added a brewery that now serves 6 of our own home brewed beers. Stats Brew Pub features 5 bars and almost 16,000 square feet of restaurant and private event space with 70 HD TVs to keep your viewing options endless. So stop in and visit us today. Stats Brew Pub, 300 Marietta Street in the heart of the Lucky Marietta District.
Oh, did you catch it?
If you want a Ford Expedition, Aikens Ford Expedition, that's the deal for you. $17,000 off MSRP on new 2019 Ford
They're going to have some juice in the building.
Now, this is
Falcons fans are anxious and they're excited. They're going to give them a chance.
$17,000 off
So
MSRP
they're going to have juice in the building. I don't care how many Eagles fans are going to be there.
And Platinum.
The truth is, they're always there anyway, so I don't know how this implicates the story.
The perfect
But they're going to have some juice in the building.
Ball practices and so
they
much more.
better find a way to keep this thing closed.
That's what I'm saying. How fast does that juice turn into booze?
Limited or platinum today.
You got another year or two before Falcons get desperate enough to let the real fans back in the building.
6485.
And then I'm going to be upset.
Yeah. 35. Sell price.
Well, good. Then I hope that's what I'm pulling for.
Yeah, then I'll be upset.
Yeah, no, you'll be upset, but you've seen how it's changed.
What they should do, the Jets already
$17,000 off MSRP. Plus over 1,800 other vehicles. All the great savings.
What the Jets did, Jets ended up having to do it.
Bigger and have better deals on Expedition.
The mezzanine level, and they said that you don't need a PSL for those.
It's been, boy, it started
I don't know what
early
their
and it
pricing
doesn't seem to
structure
want to
was,
end.
but
You know what that means? If
they
your
were having
HVAC
that
system had a
section
hard time
not
keeping up, it's
show up
probably not
and
going to
not
get any
renew.
better this
So
winter.
they said
If
that
you
you
want
could
to
buy
improve your
tickets in the
comfort,
mezzanine,
visit us at
and then they kinda
centralheat.com
left the
for
other
Cherry
stuff alone.
Products and Warranties. They are one of the few second-generation locally owned HVAC companies in Atlanta. That's rare and hard to find.
Because they started doing
you're a member of the family.
And
It's been that way since 1946, and it's still that way today.
We built this into the pricing. Now they're not doing the whole,
turn to Central.
you got to do this and this. They're like, no, we've done it this way. It's like, they're going to have that thing go away.
Partner of the Georgia Bulldogs.
If they don't want to have empty building at 1 and 4 o'clock and people milling around all the
See,
time.
the
rock walls can
you could do it fine. You're here to make money, so I'm not hating on them.
I get it.
What you should do, because it's here,
the wall just has to be
just say
stabilized. And most of the time,
lower
rock walls
level
with horizontal cracks will leak right away or real
those
soon.
people
So you
will
don't
get
want to
the
wait to
tickets
see what
first.
happens.
They will
Give
get the
Engineered
SEC
Solutions of
championship
Georgia. Call
tickets
it 678-ESOG
then
now.
Anybody else who wants to come, let them come.
King here, and if you're looking
You
for the
charge
hottest
somebody
truck on the market that also
$750
delivers on the durability,
sit up in the
safety,
nosebleeds to
gas
watch,
mileage scale, all that, then it's time to
a
visit the
mediocre
Ellis family and Jim Ellis Buick GMC. Right now, you can save $11,000 off MSRP.
Tomorrow's one of those days where my wife and I
GMC Sierra 1500
kind of put our marriage on
Jim Ellis has
hold.
nearly 2 dozen for you to stroll
Twice a year,
down to
Cowboys,
siding on.
Redskins.
And the Sierra 1500 SLT.
No, more along the lines of, hey, I don't like your team, you don't like mine, but I'm going to beat your head
It's a
in.
full-size step. It's almost bleachers the way
You
it
watch it
changes around.
together?
Just what you need. when you're in the parking lot
because
after
of
we're going.
tomorrow's schedule, we'll watch the second half together. But
y'all fits too.
at their house, yeah.
It'd be fantastic if you wrote separate rooms and just like trash talking her, texting her throughout the game.
We've done that too.
Just at TAB.
We've done it where I'm in the base and cheese, the first level, and you'll hear, like, I'll be watching they'll make a big pass, and all you hear upstairs is,
just in on Highway 20 in Buford. Jim Ellis Buick GMC.
She'll have nothing to trash talk about tomorrow. It's going to be awful.
yeah, you're going to take it in short
SunTrust
spurts.
Park. This is Atlanta's one and only home for Braves baseball.
Already missing Jonathan out. It's going to be awful.
Murph doesn't have a left tackle. He's in his best defensive line.
Broadcasting station.
Doesn't have a starting running back. Doesn't have a starting quarterback from last year.
680 and 93.7 FM. Keeping you up to speed on all the afternoon college action. The Fan's College Game Day. Live from Sports and Social on the biggest college football station in the country. The Fan. 680 and 93.7 FM.
Yeah, if I was Murph, I'd leave the church too. I can't believe he did it.
He was my last hope.
I know.
For humanity.
He was the last really sweet guy in the building, and then he decided, I'm leaving the church, and I don't know.
He still has time.
Pray for me.
Welcome back into 680 College Game Day live from Sports and Social. His home team, Brandon Leak, from the Sports X. What is the Sports X? The sister station on 106.3 and 103.7 FM. And I get the pleasure to work with Joe Hamilton, College Football Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion, all-time leading passer.
Y'all guys have fun, man.
At Georgia Tech every day, Monday through Friday on the Sports X. Follow him at JoeHam14. We are here live, home team, Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney, Sports and Social, as we will be every Saturday here throughout the college football season. Georgia up 27-0 on Arkansas State. Georgia Tech in a battle battle right now in the first quarter. The Citadel leading the Jackets 7-0 with about a minute and change to go in the first quarter. So we'll see if the Jackets can get their offense on board now that they have the ball again. The Dogs, guys, there's something that they shouldn't want to see and we shouldn't want to see, and that's a game in the 40s. They should make this a 50 or 60-point output they put up on Arkansas State today. A no-doubter. Everybody who needs to get their work in is out by the middle of the third quarter. DeAndre Swift and Jake Fromm are sitting down, and now your second and third string units are getting to work. I would be upset if the Bulldogs are in the 40s at the end of this game. Show us a 50 or a 60 burger.
Oh, let's talk about what's going on right now. 9 minutes left to go in the opening half. It's 27-0. And the bigger thing for me that's gone right, this team looks sharper than it did a week ago. Mm-hmm. Murray State was able to get up and down the field a few times. Obviously, they hit the one pass play for a touchdown. And they were, for a team that was going to be playing as a 30-something point underdog, they had a solid game for themselves. This is much more, we're going to demolish you. And you can tell the difference 1 week to the next where I think Georgia's troops took it to heart. Hey, we got to be on our game and play at an even better level than we played the previous week. That was the nice thing about that Murray State. There was just enough mistakes to take that game and say we got to work and get better here and here.
And the other thing defensively, Nerdy, I don't want to see the explosive play, the missed sack that turns into a 40-yard pass down the field. You see Kirby's defense be pretty solid and be pretty consistent so far today as well.
Right, like a week ago, what was it? Was cover zero and inside slant.
Yep.
When you're running that, when you don't get your hands on the guy on the line of scrimmage, that kind of thing happens, and that's just a mental mistake. You're not seeing any mental mistakes right now from Georgia. They're hitting on every cylinder in special teams, defense, and offense. And I tell you what, man, the way this game is shaping up and as good as their defense is playing right now, this is one of the games as a defensive coordinator that you're just waiting for somebody to screw up and put those first points on the board so you can chew them out for blowing your shutout.
See, and the coach is legit here. Like Coach Nerdy's telling you.
Oh, Coach Nerdy.
Oh, like first off, he wants to. I want them shut out. If not, I'm gonna complain. But when you make the mistake, I got something I can harp on.
Oh, and I have experience. The first two games of my 8th grade team, we're 2-0, right? I think we put up 82 points. We've given up 13 points.
Goodness.
First game, we gave up a 60-yard run with like 11 missed tackles on one play. I went crazy on that one. That gave up my shutout for the day. Last week, I was even more irate because it was a kick return for a touchdown that took away my shutout in the fourth quarter. As a defensive coordinator, when you're looking at a goose egg up on the board and special team screws you get really upset.
So what are you roll up the playbook, hit your hand, are you visor, hit your knee guy?
Oh,
what
no.
are you doing?
I went on the field and grabbed the dude. I said, you keep outside containment, man. You just blew this for me.
See what happened? He's 8th grader, took his shine, and now look at him.
But it's funny because back in high school, we had the same issue. I remember we were playing Fayette County one year, and we were up like 24-0 with like 30 seconds left in the game, and we gave up a big play with some of the backups, and they ended up scoring, and our defensive coordinator just went ham, and we're looking at him like, this guy's a little nuts. Now I know what he felt like. Now I know how it feels.
My uncle played at East Carolina years ago, and Pat Dye of Auburn fame, he was a coach at East Carolina, but my uncle played. He was saying it was a game and they were winning, and it was a situation where the field goal kicker, the place kicker, missed an extra point. He said coach is going over the film, and they get to the special teams part, and then he said coach just went into a trance. When he's talking, that's a good thing there for it, that's a good play, that's a good play, and then we got a kicker. Who can't line up, he kicked the thing between the pipes and went into a nutty. So you can understand how coaches who are prepared, expect execution can go off, but this should not be close. Right now, it is not close, and even when the backups come in, it should not be close. Bulldogs should be looking at 58, 62 points when they get out of Athens today.
Well, I'll tell you what is close, and that probably shouldn't be close either, and that's Citadel and Georgia Tech right now. Goodness. Citadel up 7-0. Tech, their first two drives, have punted the ball away. They're on their third offensive drive right now, facing a third down, but it's really been more of the same. Lucas Johnson started the game and not being able to throw the ball.
You want me to tell you what's going to happen? Because I think my feed's a little bit ahead of yours.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, don't do it like that, Los. Los, no.
Really?
I'm just saying.
So you were on the Hulu feed. I'm on the YouTube feed. You got me by a couple seconds.
I'm just gonna say no, because like you'll just.
I'm watching now. He's rolling to the right, rolling to the right, and okay, first down.
There you go.
And which is basically the only way Tech has picked up first downs right now is by Lucas Johnson running the ball. Because right now throwing, we're not looking good.
But you know what? That's smart football. You're having challenges getting accuracy down the field. You don't need the clock stopped. You don't need 3rd and 10s. And so Jeff Collins is saying, hey, if I have these quarterbacks that can run it a little bit and make it 3rd and shorter.
Well, I got to say this. I mean, at what point do you say, okay, well, if we're only having success to run the ball, then let's just put Tobias Oliver in and let him run the ball. Or if you really want to try to throw the football, there's a true freshman, Jordan Yates, on the sideline who has had success throwing the football at the highest levels of high school. Why don't you throw him out there and let's see if he can throw it?
I could not have agreed with you more when you tweeted out Tobias Oliver. He's got a place in the program. It's just not at quarterback. Well, then there's days like this where you go, I need a shot in the arm. I need something to get that going. And maybe he is that factor that every now and then I get desperate and this is what I got to do.
Well, we're in a situation where when we look at off the gridiron, the Braves, they are coming down on final approach. They win 5-0 last night against the Washington Nationals. They beat up Max Scherzer, the guy who's supposed to be the boogeyman. They got to him early and then finished things off. Freddie Freeman leaving the game, and this is a question I have. Why it's important to kind of wrap things up. Once you wrap up the division, kind of see if you can catch the Dodgers for that best record. Brian Snitker could then start to manage his team health-wise. Give guys a couple of days off. See how he's going to rest guys the final few weeks of the regular season and get them playoff ready and playoff healthy.
Well, it's bone spurs is what we got from Freddie Freeman. It's something he said he's been dealing with, but it calmed down. He's hopeful to be in the lineup. Once you ice this division, then it's no big deal to say, oh, you know what, it's a random Thursday. Yeah, take the day. Not a big deal. Exactly. We'll see you on Friday. That's the benefit that you're going to buy yourself. No one's going to catch you as the 2 seed. Can you catch the 1 seed? That's entirely possible. And so I think you're going to have to play that balancing act of still trying to stay aggressive and play good baseball. What is it now, 20 of 23, something silly like that? If you can keep at that level, you can legitimately be a team that goes into the playoffs going, hey, we're every bit as hot as anybody else in all of baseball. Let's keep it rolling and see if we can win some big series.
So that said, the one guy that I don't want to risk going into it, and there's obviously a few of them, but the number one guy who I think is the heart and soul of this baseball team, and that's Freddie Freeman. And he's a guy that, I think going into the season, I think we have this conversation almost yearly going into the Braves season. Well, let's give Freddie a couple extra days off this year. And I just think he shows up to the ballpark every day and just convinces everybody, I'm here to play baseball. I'm not here to take days off. And I'm not looking at this as a too serious of a thing. I think Snicker really is thinking about the fact that we've about got this wrapped up. If there's anything at all, any reason at all to get this guy out of the game, let him rest for a couple days. And I'm on board with you. I mean, listen, yeah, it'd be nice to catch the Dodgers, but I'd be a lot happier as a Braves fan. I'm a lot more confident if I had everybody healthy and ready to go. And that starts with our first baseman.
And make Freddie mad. If Freddie wants to play or says, I feel good, Skip, don't worry about that. We'll sit this one out for the team. We got you. We got you, champ. We have you.
We got you, champ.
Yeah.
Take it easy for
we need you in a couple of weeks. We'll make sure that you are as good as you could possibly be.
For everyone, and I'm one of them in this crowd, hey, when can we rest Nick Markakis? Because that was going on over the course of the year. When are we going to get him off his feet? When can we get him a rest? Unfortunately, a broken wrist is what got him 7 weeks of rest.
Right.
What happened? He was the best ball player in the lineup yesterday. Just driving in runs, taking Max Scherzer, just smoking balls right back at him. That's what a fresh Nick Markakis looks like. And so that's one of those other guys. I want to make sure that he's managed, that he's kept off his feet enough to where by the time you get to the playoffs, him in the outfield and batting 6th changes so much with this lineup as far as lengthening it out and giving Donaldson some legit protection.
All right, when we get back, all but about 4 coaches in college football should be worried because this man could be coming back.
He's coming back.
We'll get to it. He's Carlos Medina, Sean Nerdy. I'm Home Team Brandon Leak. We are broadcasting live from Sports and Social in the Battery, Atlanta. This is 680 College Game Day on the Fan. 680 93.7 FM.
Atlanta's 26-year home for Falcons fans has you covered all season with NFL insider Chris Mortensen and the quarterback himself live every Monday after the game.
It's Matt Ryan, and I'm live with the front row every week after the game, only on Atlanta's 26-year home for Falcons fans. The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
Hey, Bulldog fans! Georgia United Credit Union now offers Georgia Bulldogs debit cards. Now you can show your UGA pride everywhere you go and spend. Pick your favorite design and score yours today. Georgia United makes banking easy, friendly, and smart.
That's as close to saying, I'm coming back as you could possibly
free checking account that pays big
talk to me next year, we'll see.
Smart choice. Visit gucu.org/GAWGS for important account information. Insured by NCUA. Georgia United, the official credit union of Georgia.
UCLA. Chip Kelly's not doing well.
If you're looking for the hottest truck on the market that also delivers on the durability, safety, gas mileage scale, all that, then it's time to visit the Ellis family in Jim Ellis Buick GMC. Right now, you can save $11,000 off MSRP on the 2019 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT. And Jim Ellis has nearly 24 for you to stroll the aisles deciding on. And the Sierra 1500 SLT has that cool, unbelievably useful tailgate that you've seen or heard so much about. It's a bench. It's a full-size.
Can we just go ahead and anytime he ever talks about health, we can just point the finger and just say liar. You are an effing liar.
Stock number S.
Cysts on the brain.
And the MSRP
BS.
$59,675.
Bring your doctor's note.
GMC.
Let me see.
You don't pay that.
Not even a year removed from having a growth on your brain, apparently. And I might go back and coach again. Let me see it.
Just add
I got to go spend time with the family.
For more details on this
next weekend up in Bristol,
or visit Jim Ellis Buick GMC.com or
last night at about
Industrial just inside the
12:30
on Highway 20.
You know what?
Jim Ellis Buick GMC.
Football games are pretty much all decided.
Watching the game, having a Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey. Your team
I'm
scores,
going
and suddenly you're
to
best
rent
friends with the strangers
John
next
Wick
to you.
3.
The kind of friends who you exchange stats with.
And you're so happy.
Your
analysis,
knowing each other's names. Tullamore Dew.
If you enjoy those films,
so next time strike up a
you got it like on steroids. And
Tullamore Dew.
You know what I figured out?
Blended smooth sipping
the reason why,
exactly for these great moments when it's game time, it's Tully time.
Was because it was like this world of vampires, and you're able to suspend enough reality to be like, there's this world of vampires.
Searching for the
idea that there's these world,
fresh your wardrobe in one fell swoop.
that entire underworld of killers,
over 35
and they all have a code, the way they do things.
One-stop
You
destination.
could pretty much write in all sorts of stuff, and people are like, oh, that's cool. Like the fact that
DSW,
on any corner lurking is somebody who's looking to take you out,
and many more.
is the
Make sure
boogeyman
you keep an eye
everywhere.
out for today's fresh deal. You'll see
what
those
it was.
signs in the store windows.
We did a whole segment on that the other day. Demino watched it.
I got a win out of it. Yeah, because when you're like,
Does he like it or not like it?
but don't. Oh, he loves it. He loves it. So Tech misses the extra point.
I didn't. How did they score?
Problem. The water will go right over the edge of the gutters, pull up around the base of your home, and then you're talking potential moisture, water intrusion, foundation problems. It's all stuff you don't want anything to do with. Even tougher, these issues will only worsen over time. So take action sooner rather than later. Stay protected.
That's great. The punter is the best player on our team.
Guard Foundation Solutions. Gutter shutter is
he is. I mean, he is good player.
Gutter system that catches and
it was fun.
roof water away from your home's foundation walls. Gutter shutters, the best and largest.
That's one of those movies that I just kind of took a shot on.
From leaves,
the original one, and I was like, okay. And so when the second one came out,
restore your
I haven't seen any of them in the theater,
aquaguard.net, and
but I should.
Free gutter inspection.
But I've gotten them both. Like as soon as they've been available for download, I'm like,
I saw the first one on a Georgia State bus trip. They always play a movie on the bus when we have long bus trips.
College the body count was pretty incredible in our song.
So people gunning for him. Just like the whole world's gunning for him.
Like the final scene of Commando when he gets to the island with the M60.
No, not like that.
He did take out an island.
It's just that.
Never reloaded in theater.
No, it's just that there's always.
That was on last night, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, stars.
It's always like two guys at a time, and he's having to fight them both.
Copyright 2019, Dos Equis beer brands, official beer sponsor for the
never-ending ammo belt on his M60.
680 The Fan, college football sports page.
Now that is something I had a lot of respect for.
It's me.
It's that
Rhino with
the way that he cycles his weapon
Georgia's
is true to life as far as he's constantly having to onto the next one, onto the next. You know, there's not the endless amount of bullets of the gun.
Have you seen his training videos at the gun ranges? Keanu Reeves? Dude, he's legit, man. Oh, yeah. He's really good at the range. Yeah, he goes to like professional ranges. And yeah, like watch videos of him.
They showed him with this one rifle that he had that he was using in the movie. And as he's finishing it off,
and some unranked
he is using his thumb rolling out to immediately just deploy the magazine. And as he's doing that, he's already reaching to his back
and Georgia Tech
to immediately pop
with the Citadel.
And a quick, now and now it's 7 up. I mean, you're like, okay, you
can hear that game
weapon trained. Like, wow.
1230 and 106.
Like I would be like this, like,
Georgia United Credit Union scoreboard. And you're listening listening to the most powerful voice in sports, The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
This is College Football Saturday on 680 The Fan, powered by Georgia's own credit union. The Fan's College Game Day, live from Sports and Social. We've got college scores and stats all afternoon on the college football voice of the South. The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
Welcome back in to 680 College Game Day, live from Sports and Social in the Battery, Atlanta. Home team Brandon Leak from the Sports X, Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney. We are here till about 3 o'clock today. Give us a call, 404-231-1680. My God, Georgia punted. They had to punt. Arkansas State has the ball, a punt, as the Dogs are up 27-0. Explain to us, Los, the Citadel was leading the Jackets 7-0. The Jackets scored, but they're still trailing.
They missed the extra point.
Oh, boy.
And it wasn't the strongest kick in the world. But the Jackets are on the board at 7-6. And now, and again, 12:49 left in the first half. So now here's the opportunity to stop some triple option football, get the ball back, and start making some things happen. It's just one of those deals. You know when you play a bad quarter against somebody and you look up and you're like, why am I tied? Like, what was it, halftime last year where it was the Citadel and Alabama were tied at half at 10. And then Alabama won like 52-10. Well, you know, sometimes you play a bad quarter and you just got to flush it and get moving.
Well, it's okay. It's not a big deal because, you know, they moved much like the NFL, they moved the extra points back to the 25. So
it was a really long gap.
Oh, no, they didn't? Oh.
No, it's the same one.
Not really.
It's still the same right now. Coming up in 5 minutes is Alabama getting in too much of their fan base's business. We'll get to that. But all but about 4 coaches might have to be worried, guys, that this man could be returning to coaching. Is he coming out of the shirt and tie and the headsets, coming off of analyst duties and going back to the sidelines? Could Urban Meyer return to coaching again?
Well, here's the quote, and then I'll give my response to that. I'm not there at the moment. Like you said, next year, can I say that? We'll talk again next year, and we'll see. Okay, that would be a yes. He's coming back to coaching.
That's not a no, yes, which means that's a yes.
That's not a no. That's not a maybe. That's Urban Meyer basically saying why he yes. Yeah, I'll be back next year.
Let me tell you about this. So one of the things I'm into, I love documentaries, like prison documentaries on serial killers.
Okay.
Because the serial killer out there is just the ultimate and just loves himself, narcissist, power hungry, whatever it is. Whether it's, you know, got some sort of weird sexual desire or just wants power over people. They all have the same thing. It's never their fault. Like, I didn't do that. No, I wasn't responsible for any of that. Urban Meyer shows so many of those characteristics from the standpoint of, you seriously gave me a suspension? You suspended Urban Meyer? And so what did he do? He played out the year, and he took his toys and he went home. Now, yeah, he's doing his thing at Ohio State and he's doing his thing with Fox, but he's just waiting for the next gig. Because ultimately, he's going to kill again. He's going to coach again. It's the same deal.
Do they let him come back there? And see, I always thought if he was coming back, he'd be going to USC. Yeah. A sleeping giant who needs a guy who can recruit, who needs a guy with pedigree, who needs a guy who can coach. The man can coach football. I would think he's just waiting in the wings for USC, and now that UCLA has not seen the shot in the arm they thought they were going to get from Chip Kelly, maybe UCLA. Obviously, USC is a little bit more storied and the better of the two gigs. I was thinking from the jump, he's just waiting, lurking for his time to pounce and figure out which one of those West Coast teams he'd like to go coach.
I mean, is it necessarily a West Coast team?
Maybe not.
Or is it a Tennessee? Because, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season for the Volunteers, but, you know, and I put this out right after I think Pruitt was announced as the head coach up there. You know, for whatever reason, I have nothing to back this. I don't know the guy. I just know from what I watch and, you know, watch pressers and watch the games. He never struck me as the head coaching type of personality. He's never struck me as the type of guy that, you know, he's going to relate to these kids in a time where he needs to relate to these kids. I didn't know if he had it in him, and you're seeing, you know, basically pandemonium at Tennessee with the way that their season started. And Tennessee, you know, a program with money, it's a program that can be turned around rather quickly with the right guy, maybe an Urban Meyer at the helm.
Think about how much fun this is. Clay Helton's 2-0. Yeah, he lost his quarterback, but they're 2-0, and they were impressive last week against Stanford. They could be a team that could be on the cusp of, hey, we're going to go play in a Rose Bowl and win the Pac-12 and maybe be one of those teams that gets considered as a potential team to maybe sneak into the playoffs. And Urban Meyer would cancel out all of that. Like, they would take Clay Helton and toss him out the door as quickly as possible because that man has won championships over at Ohio State, at Florida, and it took Utah, of all places, to a Sugar Bowl. Took Bowling Green to bowl games. There's too much there to value anything that Clay Helton does. And so, you bring up Tennessee. Tennessee's obviously a factor if they want to spend money and do what they want to do, but they don't have the fertile recruiting pipelines and everything else that Southern Cal does. Southern Cal still has a ton of talent.
And that's what I'm saying. He's going to go where he's got the quickest and best chance to win. Tennessee is going to be a project. Whoever gets involved in that business, they have a long road to travel with recruiting, with fundraising, with getting your own line support back with the program. Tennessee is way off. USC, I don't think, is way off, and that would be much more attractive, in my opinion, to Urban Meyer.
And can we just, as a nation, as one people, can we just stand up together and come to the agreement that regardless of what sob story you hear coming out of the Urban Meyer camp about cysts on the brain, I got to spend more time with my family, I'm overworked, I'm falling to my knee on the. He's lying. Okay, there is no. So you go from cysts on the brain to immediately a few months down the road. Yeah, I think I might get back into the whole thing. I'm already back on Fox. He went from I got to go spend more time with my family. The very next weekend, he is up in Bristol, sitting down in studio hosting college football shows.
I wouldn't play cards with the man.
I'm not buying it anymore.
Telling you, Netflix, Piers Morgan, interview with serial killer. There's 3 different ones, and every single one of them you go, oh yeah, those same mental characteristics, everything else like that. You see that in people that are sociopaths. He is a sociopath. He just happens to be a great football coach.
The one thing that he has in his back pocket, and you saw it at the end of his time at Ohio State, those that root and support his program don't care. They don't care about what's coming out of his mouth. They don't care about what's on his text messages or his wife's text messages. They don't care. So when he shows up as the anointed one to be the fixer of your program, who needs me, who gets teams to bowl games, to championship program level, they are going to excuse and look past the flaws that the man has displayed when you can't believe the things coming out of his mouth.
It's all about the job opening. It's not a situation where he would just take the, not that it ever would, but hey, I'm going to take the Arkansas job. Like, that's not a job he's going to take. And even Tennessee, because of the recruiting situations, I don't think is another one they could do. But a team like Southern Cal, it's got to be one of the big ones out there. A Southern Cal, a Notre Dame, obviously he already took an Ohio State and a Florida. It's got to be on that level for him to consider it.
I think it's one of those deals where we're going to see him again. It's just a matter of when and where. We're going to see Coach Saban. He was complaining and whining, and his whining has now gotten the powers that be at Alabama in the business of their fan bases. Alabama now going to be tracking where their students are and when their students are watching games at Alabama. Now, it's good information. Any information you can get, you can put into a database, so be it. Can help the school maybe entertain better, come up with some things throughout the course of the game. But Coach Saban, a little upset about students leaving the game early. And so what Alabama's going to do is come up with a point system. You get a point, say 100 points for swiping your student ID ticket on the way in. You get 250 points if you swipe your student ID on the way out after the fourth quarter. So they're tracking to see who's coming and who's staying for Alabama games.
1, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. 2, this is very easily dealt with. Chuck Oliver was the first one, and I was sitting back going like, yeah, I would have already done that as well. Here's the one designated kid, in the fraternity. Guess what? You're swiping all these phones. You swipe them on the way in, you swipe them on the way out, and you bring them all home. That's what you're going to do. But the problem ends up being this. It's not even about the games either, where you beat somebody 55-10 on your home field and it's 98 degrees. Okay, that's not that much fun. Can we just be very honest about it? When the girls leave the football game, the guys follow. That's it. That's all. It doesn't matter how many free burritos you offer, how many points it can be used for tacos,
who the DJ is.
Doesn't matter, any of it. When the girls leave the stadium, and when it's 98 degrees and they ain't all that crazy about being there and you're up by 40, they leave the stadium. The guys follow. You know why? You can't be the guy to catch up with the girl 8 hours later when she's intoxicated, because you know what? That's when her friends are going, You got to be with her from the time you show up to the bar and the party when everybody's sober for them to be like, all right, this is cool. That is the way of the world in college and in these big universities, and for some reason, we just don't want to be honest about it.
Do we know what the points, do we know what the payoff of the points are? What are some of the prizes that are tacos?
Free stuff.
I mean, the only thing, as a college student, I assume it's free, but the only thing, we got to find out what kind of stuff they're getting, because there's very few things. When you're in that mindset, when you're drinking surrounded by co-eds, there's very few things that are going to keep me in there. So I got to know what the free thing. Oh, if it's more beer, then that may be.
Why do you care if you're Nick Saban? The fans are going to be in there when you play Tennessee, when you play Ole Miss, when you play Arkansas, when you play LSU. They're going to be in there hooting and hollering and be lathered up to support the Crimson Tide. Why are you running off at the mouth and whining when you are the greatest college football coach of our time?
You know why? And I think I think he really cares about his players. I think he wants to do it for his players. I think he's saying, I think anything that's going to make his players happier, he's going to be behind. And I've come to respect Nick Saban. A lot of time we compare Nick Saban doing his pressers, his conversation with the media, and Bill Belichick, because they're curmudgeons when it comes to the media. I so much more respect Nick Saban in front of the media as opposed to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick comes off as a ticked-off 15-year-old boy to me when he's in front of the media. And you saw it the other day when he gets in the back and forth. I just answered that. Well, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't.
No,
yes,
you
I
actually
did. No, you
didn't.
didn't. Yes, you did. He comes off as just like you're arguing with a teenager, okay? Nick Saban, he shows you that passion that he has for his players every once in a while when you get him worked up. You saw it a week or two ago when he started getting into, the punishment for players and would you want me to kick everybody out? And I think he was being very emotional and very legitimate about that. So, for me, the only reason that I can think that he really irks him this much is because he doesn't want his players to look up in the stands and see empty bleachers.
Let's play a game. Nerney, I want you to take yourself back to 21-year-old Nerney. And I want you to be surrounded by 21-year-old co-eds. Can you do that? Okay.
Yeah.
The girls are leaving. They're heading out to the bars. They're heading out to go party, doing whatever. It's the third quarter of the game. But if you stay, your scheduling, your checking in, everything will give you improved access to tickets to the SEC championship game of the college football playoffs.
I'm not staying for that.
Exactly.
I'm not staying for that.
Improved access. First off, maybe for like 10 kids, because let me tell you, the money still talks over at Alabama just like it does everywhere else. Yeah. It ain't happening. You know what? It's BS.
No, I'm too drunk. I'm leaving.
Kids are leaving. They're leaving because you know what? They're going to try and go hook up. That's what college football is.
If you, Los, gave me 4 tickets to go see an Alabama game, if I'm in Alabama, you gave me 4 tickets, you know what? I would take them. I would go. I would want to be a part of that experience. You know what? If you gave me 4 tickets and you're up 62 to 10 against New Mexico State in the third quarter, guess what? I'm leaving.
I might go to the tailgate.
I'm leaving. I'm not sticking around so that the Bama freshmen can see what it's like to be at Bama. They'll find out when LSU comes in there.
Let me tell you, when I was in Baton Rouge with Frank Duffy, Dan Matthews, Brian Hoyt with Road Dogg, we were sitting in an area where, because it was a 3:30 kick, the sun was just beating down on us on those metal bleachers. And we got into basically the third quarter and things weren't going really well for Georgia, and I went, I ain't serving beer. Ain't nobody around I really want to talk to. I'm going to go back to the tailgate. And so, I was the guy who left the seat that I had to go back to the tailgate. There's plenty of times where you just say, you know what, nothing here for me anymore. I'm going to go back to the tailgate. That's part of what happens. And for Alabama to try and institute some sort of program to keep their fans in the seats, that's so Orwellian. Just come on, it's Big Brother.
I just think Coach is going to get his way. We'll see where it goes. Obviously, if you can get some free stuff by scanning, tickets.
No, improved
you're
access.
Right. Improved access to things by scanning tickets when you leave in the fourth fourth quarter. Best of luck to you.
Can I have my moment to make Nick Saban seem more human?
Sure, go ahead, please.
So this week, Josh Jacobs, running back for Oakland, obviously big star from Alabama, played under Nick Saban. So this week, Josh Jacobs is being interviewed about playing under Nick Saban, and he says, Nick Saban has a very good personality, very big jokester, and he actually pulled out one of the jokes that Nick Saban used to use in front of Josh Jacobs, and here it goes. This is Josh Jacobs. I caught like 5 passes in a row, and he was like, "Hey Josh, if you want to hold all the balls, hold these."
Funny.
That's Nick Saban. That's a side of Nick Saban that we don't get to hear about enough. But I would love to hear about.
Hey, I wish he would do that on his weekly presser.
I would love for him to fire off. If he ever ended something with D's nuts, oh my God, I would.
And that's why I go back to the Belichick-Saban comparison, curmudgeon levels. I mean, Nick Saban, I know he has moments where he is an emotional human around his players.
No, that's true. You always get like a guy like Chris Landry will always tell you, like, hey, they're completely different when they're away from the media, because if you don't have to show anything, then you go through it, you get that over with, and you save your personality for your players.
Right. I don't know if Belichick's dropping D's nut drop.
No, and Saban's never been fined the biggest fine in NFL history like Belichick has for cheating.
Yeah.
So
that's
true.
How bad does this have to get for Jeremy Pruitt to get his hat in his coat? Because things are not good. I don't know what worse than this looks like. They have a lot of football to play, but what is it going to take? And the other question is, even if you have to make the move, is it going to hurt you more with another coaching turnover at Tennessee? How are they ever going to get themselves back to what they used to be?
So the record is one thing. Starting off slow, that's one thing that's not great. How your team and how your players react to starting slow, that's where the real killer is, okay? And these days, now we have actually a scale to really, we can measure how bad it really is. We can look at the Miami Dolphins and see, these players, after that loss, they're requesting trades. Well, now in the NCAA, we have the transfer portal, which we can keep up to date whenever we want to look at it. So now you can see, okay, how many of Tennessee's players, how are they reacting to this slow start? Is Jeremy Pruitt rallying the troops, getting them, we want to turn things around, or are they shying away from the message from Jeremy Pruitt, kids asking to transfer? So I think really, if you're looking at a scale to see how bad or good it is and how much control he has, we're looking at the transfer portal right now. It's a bad start on the field, and let's see how they react, because if you lose the locker room and your stars start, just not listening to your message whatsoever, that's when you've got to start thinking about making a change.
We got about now 14 years worth of Tennessee football, the raging mess. Now, they're up 38-0 on Chattanooga today, so, okay, good. That's what they're supposed to do to them. But when you talk about, raging mess, first off, everything how it came to an end with Phil Fulmer was messed up for a guy who had won a national championship there, had a lot of success there. I remember showing up in that building, and they beat Georgia that day. But the entire team was like, we're here to save Phil's job. We're going to go out and we're going to beat Georgia because we want to save his job. He still lost his job. And then you went through the Derek Dooley hire, which Derek Dooley is not a head coach at all.
Did not work out.
Butch Jones brought in a ton of talent, but he also gave you a ton of disappointments where you just went, how am I this talented, yet I'm not playing for bigger things? Now, with all that being said, they tried to make it up by bringing Phil Fulmer in, and Phil Fulmer and that administration did one of the biggest butcher jobs in terms of hiring a head coach. Remember, you had 2 other people who said yes to that job before Fulmer went, that Mike Leach, I don't know if he'll really fit here. Mike Leach is an SEC offensive legend for what he did at Kentucky and ultimately what he went and did at Oklahoma. Think about this from Mike Leach. Mike Leach had a job as the OC at Oklahoma for 9 months. After they won a national title, he was handed the keys over to another university. He was on campus for 9 months and somebody said, you're a head coach. And he has been a head coach ever since. He turned Texas Tech and Washington State into relevant top 20 programs. And you tell me you don't want this at Tennessee? Their entire mess is of their own making.
Yeah, I don't know where the bottom is. They're certainly closer to it than not. I just don't know how you fix it, because you would think every coach in America will want to coach in the SEC. Every coach in America will want a fan base and a storied program like Tennessee if that was an opportunity available. Right now, where are you going? Where are you going? You're losing the recruiting wars like nobody's business. I don't know what's in the mind of a 15 or a 16-year-old. I know it's not Tennessee. And I don't know what that means 3 or 4 years from now, even if today you said we're getting a new coach.
Listen, you can have losing seasons and still be effective enough as a head coach to get your kids to go out and rally and play week after week after week, all right? I mean, hell, I give Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech credit for that. For what he had, he got his players to play week in and week out. But if you're not winning, you can't also lose that locker room, lose that effectiveness as a head coach and getting your kids motivated. If you're losing and have no motivation going through from the head coach to the players, then you're obsolete as a head coach. You're a waste of a paycheck.
Tennessee is not supposed to be a middle-tier SEC team.
No.
And at this point, calling a middle tier is actually being kind of friendly about it because Alabama, Georgia, LSU, oh, by the way, Auburn's ahead of you. Texas A&M is ahead of you. At this point, I'm now coming in at 6, and now I'm like, all right, maybe I'm a middle-tier team. Me and Missouri of the world, kind of right around in there. Mississippi State. I mean, that's not where you're supposed to be. 7th or 8th in the conference. You're supposed to be going through teams.
Yeah, you're supposed to be. Yeah, Georgia and Florida were down. Y'all can't run away with this thing. Georgia's run away with it. Florida might be knocking on the door, but they're not there yet. You're way behind both of those.
Florida has problems, but even a pretty mediocre Florida team last year was still a 10-3 football team. You couldn't sniff 10-3 over at Tennessee last year. This year.
Now down at the Flats, about 3 minutes to go in the first half. Citadel still leading. Georgia Tech 7-6.
Yeah, it's just been an ineffectiveness. I mean, the defense, they had one drive where they gave up the touchdown, a couple big plays back-to-back, but other than that, the defense has done really what it's done, all season long, and it kept you in ball games. But offensively, it's not been pretty. It looks like they came out with a plan to throw the ball more this week, but offensive line-wise, Citadel's bringing pressure. Offensive line is not getting used to picking up that pressure, and that was, coming into the season, that was the number one thing for me is how is this offensive line going to go from cut blocking more or less 9 times out of 10, maybe more than that over the past 10 years, to actually having to set back and create a pocket for your quarterback, learn how to pick up blitzes. That's going to take some time as a unit to gel, and you're seeing them have issues today against the Citadel.
And another factor with this game as well, the Citadel doesn't have points out of their drives, but they keep churning up yards and eating up clock. They are playing that keep-away football that will frustrate you, and so this is really going to come down to, at some point, Georgia Tech having to put together some offense, and then the defense having to shut it down and say, all right, get us right back on the field. Let's see if we can start burying these guys with some points.
We're going to give away one of the best experiences you could ever have. All season long, you can register for a conference championship game day experience. It's going to include pregame here at Sports and Social, transportation to 680 The Fan's championship tailgate party, and 2 tickets to the championship game that's played inside the Benz December 7th. Also, we're giving away a VIP table at Sports and Social for the conference championship, and that comes with a $2,000 tab. You need to stay tuned for registration details all season long here at Sports and Social, live inside the Battery. When we get back, we have a man on this show who has a big decision to make on his wedding day, and it involves him, his bride, and football. And we'll get the right answer next. Sean Nerney, Carlos Medina.
It may be the right answer. Hopefully we may not have a wedding, so hopefully it's the right answer.
Home team, this is College Game Day live from Sports and Social here in the Battery on the Fan, 680 93.7 FM.
From the
Thank you, home team.
Another chance for you to get out and hit the town for one incredible low.
Thank you, Nerney.
Town card goes on sale next Friday.
What else I owe you, Bert?
$99. You'll get.
That's it. We only needed 2.
We're done with those. Okay.
You'll get a
Murph, I'm going to turn all of them down just a little bit. Just give you a heads up.
Main Street Guns and Range. Local beer tasting.
So one of the rules, if you live in the apartments here,
Pass
you can fly
yoga
flag.
and a day
You
of
can only
pinball.
fly
Bowling with football.
Really? So I got an Uber.
One car,
girl
just
she lives here in the Battery, and her boyfriend
But
was
for
a
680 Insider, you'll get early access to it next Wednesday for only $79. Just sign up at 680thefan.com. It's exclusive for everyone else. If you miss out, just make sure you're there 9 a.m. next
Is that only for baseball? Can you play anything?
You cannot fly anything.
Proud partner of the Georgia Bulldogs.
You know what?
What's different about the Solutions of Georgia? Well, first, they're considered every time. They make sure that they call the customer when they're 30 minutes away. But primarily, they want to make sure the customer is happy with the finished job. Engineered Solutions
I'm not
of
an
Georgia
urban
takes a
dweller.
with the best solution.
I can pull it off, and I don't know what they're doing. And the only reason I wouldn't do it is because typically when you have these multi-purpose places, it always smells like food. It smells like pizza. It smells like cigarettes. I will say it never smells like anything in here. Every day when I come in, it doesn't smell like anything.
Hey, it's John.
I thought you were going to say it smells like food, so I'll always be hungry.
So, I mean, I'm just walking around. I'm always like, damn, it smells like pizza.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Hey, that's my bad. I came straight from the restaurant. I had garlic. That's why I didn't want to take a picture with damn Champ Bailey. I was like, I can't stand next to him, man. I smell like a pizza.
Is the dealership you need. Audi Atlanta. With the Jim Ellis name behind it,
oh, God, that Falcons video was awesome.
You're going to love driving the Q5
and I
to all those tailgates.
I don't want to put his name in it.
Love taking your kids to and from.
But I was listening to Ryan Cameron one afternoon.
Seem enjoyable.
And he was getting ready to go to break, and he was talking about the song. And it seemed like he was a part of either getting Bone Crusher to do it or producing it or something.
Example stock A15398 MSRP $45.90.
Oh, you didn't see this song.
This excludes tax.
Do the Dirty Bird.
Is that who it was?
That was Bone Crusher.
That was Bone.
With credit.
I just like how they couldn't find any
like AudiAtlanta.com.
Nice clothes to fit him, so he's getting like a T-shirt and like basically what I'm wearing right now.
Industrial Boulevard.
Bone is
like a 6XL.
3-year loan. You can save thousands annually with just a 10-minute call to my mortgage company, Bright Path Mortgage. Trust me, it worked for me. They have saved me thousands so far, and every single month it's another $397.
Like every single time you
if you have a rate anywhere near 4%, it's time to follow the Bright Path to savings just like I did. I'm telling you guys, take advantage of these rates. Bright Path's local experienced loan officers are top-notch professionals that make it easy for you. They'll give you the personal attention you deserve, and most importantly, they're saving you real money every single month. See for yourself. Check out the 5-star reviews on Google and Zillow. Don't wait.
We're up by 44. Let's go play this.
707-6330. 678-707-6330. Online, brightpath.com.
Where are they? Is that them over there?
6330 or
they had water in them earlier.
Yeah. They don't let them drink beer. They don't let them.
Georgia.
That's not American.
NMLS number 177208. Georgia license 24109. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Why couldn't you just
going on right now?
There's not a set number of shots. Martin has to make a determination on whether you're drunk or not.
Getting the
you see if somebody's had too much, just say y'all are done.
Can't you go up there and just like for a flat fee, just like $30 fill up the table or something?
It was a different time.
They get ready for
so there used to be this place in Alpharetta called Montana's, and they would have a beer pong tournament every Thursday. And it was legit, but now it was like Natty Light, filled the beer cups. So from that standpoint, as long as you could kind of fight through, it was Natty Light.
Watches 60% off. Boom, 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 boom. One deal after another. And while you're there, make sure you enter into the
start hopping in the car to go home. Like we'd always have somebody who would drive back to the neighborhood. Now just be like
baseball tickets and jewelry. Go on now.
One way or another in any kind of violent fashion. I'm just gonna throw up in the backseat.
Annual percentage.
Maybe just shake me a little bit. I'm gonna just throw up.
You know what to do. Solomon Brothers right now for deals on top of deals on top of deals. 17th floor, Tower Place in Buckhead.
College football fans, remember to keep it interessante this football season. Just like Dos Equis, the only beer brewed to be held like a football. The one beer with the Blitz package named after it. And the only cerveza scientifically proven to taste like victory. So grab a Dos Equis, the official beer of the college football playoff, and keep it interessante.
Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York. Copyright 2019, Dos Equis Beer Brands. Official beer sponsor of the college football playoff.
680 The Fan, college football sports page.
Good afternoon, it's me, Rhino, with the Georgia United Credit Union scoreboard. Number 3, Georgia at the half has jumped all over Arkansas State, 34-0. Jake Fromm, 3 touchdowns and 267 yards passing so far. Number 6, Ohio State is now moving, 30-10 over Indiana. Fields has thrown for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. That game also at the half.
This may be one of the first times that you see
7-3.
That
game about to go to half.
Yeah.
Also at the half, Temple is still shutting down Maryland's offense
defense
as the Owls lead 7-2.
I'm
Some other games of interest at the half.
Your defense can only go so long until you just mentally, if your offense can't produce
17-14.
That can happen like week 7.
I'm telling you, it happens. It can happen during your ball game, man. You're keeping your team in the game for an entire ball game, and you just can't get anything on offense.
With
it's demoralized.
United Credit Union College Scoreboard. I'm Rhino, and you're listening to the most powerful voice in sports, the Fan, 680, 93.7 FM.
680 The Fan's College Football Saturday, powered by Georgia's Own Credit Union. Become one of Georgia's Own now at georgiasown.org. College updates all afternoon. The Fan's College Game Day, live from Sports and Social at the Battery Atlanta, on the biggest college football station in the country, The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
Welcome back in to College Game Day, live from Sports and Social here in the Battery, Atlanta, on the Fan, 680, 93.7 FM. Home team Brandon Leak from the Sports X, Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney. We are here. We'll take you right up until the Braves get ready for some action coming up. They look for another beatdown as they get ready to take on the Nationals, as they got rid of Max Scherzer last night. They win 5-0. Freddie Freeman getting some good news, as reports now he is going to be in the starting lineup tonight, so not too much concern with him coming out of last night's ball game. We have an incident. We have a man on this show. He's a good man. He's making a good decision. He's got a good woman. She's going to be a good bride. They have children. She's going to be a good mother. Sean Nerney, getting married November the 9th, 2019, a date that history will never forget.
Living infamy.
The other situation is that's the day that LSU plays Alabama.
So here's a bit of a backstory to this. So my sister graduated from UGA. Her husband, my brother-in-law, graduated from Mississippi State. They got married a year ago. I should probably know this because I was there.
It was so important to me, I forgot.
Yeah, whatever. So at their wedding, it was kind of symbolic. UGA was playing Mississippi State on that game, on that day. So what they did, which is a brilliant idea, he rented out like an RV, like a little party bus thing that basically you opened it up and there were like 5 or 6 flat screens. Some guy just brought his F-250 with this trailer hookup on it. And it just had 5 or 6 flat screens, I think DirecTV set up. So you had all the games on during their reception. It wasn't like right next to the dance floor. It was around the corner, so it wasn't, visible from the dance floor. It wasn't taking away from anything, in my opinion.
But available.
Available, yeah, exactly. Available if you wanted to walk over.
Okay.
Now, minutes, maybe seconds after I proposed to my fiance Taryn, she immediately came with, "Hey, by the way, don't expect an RV with a bunch of full TVs on during the reception for college football." I'm like, it's okay. I saw that coming. It's fine. No big deal. I've already looked at the schedule. Not a whole lot of big local games going on anyway. I think Tech's got Virginia. I forgot who Georgia has. I don't think it was a huge game. But the one game that did stand out on the schedule was LSU Alabama. We didn't know what LSU team was going to show up this year.
That's true.
Well, it just so happens that LSU seems to have found a quarterback as well as an offense this year. So after 2 weeks into the college football season, that game's kind of getting a little bit bigger, right? So, and I'll give her credit for this. It was this past weekend after LSU big win this past weekend. She came to me with, I'm getting a little nervous here. We didn't think it was going to be that big of a game, but now, LSU Alabama could be like a big deal. We've got a lot of people that work in sports coming to the reception. Should we maybe think about, maybe just setting up a TV, somewhere around there so people can check in? So
no brainer.
No brainer, of course. I start clapping. I'm so happy to be marrying you. This is a fantastic idea. Well, fast forward 24 hours later, and she's already walking back on those comments, thinking, well, maybe this is just going to turn to some big LSU Alabama thing. So now I got to try to figure out a way to convince her that it's okay. We're not going to be planted in front of the TV the entire reception. It's just for people to pass by.
We have to get this rectified.
Now, this would probably be easier if she'd been married before. So here's how it works.
I don't think she has been. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
She's not going to even know where the TV is because y'all are going to be way too entirely busy. You won't see 1 second of that game. Right. All it is for the handful of guests that want to go look and see what it's going to be. That's all it comes down to. Now, I do find it funny that you said, when I got engaged, she's like, we're not doing this. But as she gets closer, you start to realize, man, I don't want to be that person. Now, this is not hard to fix. This is all just plug in, have some Wi-Fi or whatever in the building, and you can put the game on and stream it.
We have a DJ. It's going to be a DJ.
Listen, I will go out of my own pocket. I will forget the Wi-Fi. I'll use my own data for this endeavor right now. All right, I'll pocket the extra, what is it, $40 it's going to cost me in data for a game. But, yeah, because, it's 2019. They're making it so easy for us to do these things. All I need to do is rent a smart TV for a couple hours, have my phone hook up the YouTube TV,
but if your bride doesn't want a TV, if she doesn't want people watching the television being distracted from her day, you're going to have a problem. Do you have a DJ? DJ.
Well, that's on her.
Okay.
You got to fix that.
This is what you do. Make sure that the DJ, in between sets, at appropriate times, announces scores, changes of possessions, big plays. That way, it's not distracting people. You get to know what's going on. Your guests need to know what's going on. They get to know what's going on, and your bride will not be upset.
Very, very impressive. They're not
Thanks,
not all DJs are good and comfortable at that, because there's some guys that have zero interest in sports.
You're right.
Next, Citadel scored again. They're now up 14-6 on the Yellow Jackets inside of about a minute to play in the first half. Now, but that's the problem, because you can't ask.
See what I just did? See, that's what would happen if this was on TV. We're trying to watch you, have your first dance. No! But
I don't want you to watch me on my first dance. I can't.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Part of the whole thing.
If I'm spinning discs, I have no problem with, let me give you a quick scoring update, because we can all do these sorts of things. The guy who just DJs and doesn't follow any sports will be like, the University of Alabama and Louisiana State University.
LSU just scored.
Yeah, it's like some Joe Burrow. I'm like, no.
Don't ask me.
And Oregon is now on the field.
I think that my problem is that, when she initially said, don't even think about the RV, scenario, it's not happening, I wrote it off. Like, I was fully on board with her. I was like, listen, that's fine. We don't have to do it. And I was never going to speak of it again. It was the fact that she brought it up a couple days ago. She floated the idea. She put it right back in my head that we could maybe make something work. And now I'm just, like, freaking out. Like, we got to make this work.
I'm just going to tell you, this is just being honest. I can swallow outside of that, but well-placed drop, though. I am skipping a music festival to go to your wedding because we were like, and I was like, I've worked with Nerdy for years. Nerdy's a good dude. Yeah, let's go support him and his bride. Let's go to their wedding. But I really want to go to the music festival too, so I'm skipping that. So if you're also going to take away from me Alabama and LSU, now I'm starting to really lose. Like, I'm losing twice on. And
you have to look out for your guests.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hand out her phone number to everybody at the station, and I'm going to have everybody at the station send her like a guilt trip text message as to how this will affect them if they're not able.
I wouldn't advise that.
I mean,
don't do that.
Do you think anybody wouldn't show up based solely on the fact that they want to watch LSU Alabama?
But see, the other thing is you don't want people leaving or not paying attention.
Now here's the problem. If you don't make it available, then you're going to have people stuck up on their phones.
Yeah.
You know what the guys are.
I know.
And they won't be paying attention. But if you have it available, then you cause less of a situation where they're just staring at their phones all during the time of
I used that argument the other day.
Lowe's had a good point. The DJ might not be a sports guy. If I were you, find 2 minutes just to pull him to the side and tell him what you like. You're paying for the day. It's your day too. It's her day, but it's your day too. And you make sure that you get the announcements. That way, people who want to know are informed, and you don't have people not pay attention to your bride.
Let me ask you this, because we're going to have a lot of radio people there. A lot of people used to talking into microphones. Who's going to be talking into the microphone more? The DJ or all the morons that we work with after a few too many drinks where they just start passing that microphone
You know
around?
where you work. You know who you work with.
My point is we may not have to leave it up to the DJ to give out the scores.
Yeah, you might be. And just my last little piece of wedding advice. Don't feel that you need to finish off your wedding night in a traditional manner.
I get into his personal business.
No, I'm just saying, just because that is the. You'll be so tired and so worn out.
Yeah, a lot of handshaking, a lot of kisses, a lot of pictures. You're going to be tired.
It ain't what you think it's going to be.
He is right about that.
And some people are like, well, I guess we just have to because we have to. It's like, no, wait for the next day if you want to. Or if you're tired, just be tired. It's cool. But as long as your bride knows that, then everybody's good with it, because our first night, we got in back at like 2 in the morning. All we could think about was how quickly can I shower and get to sleep, because we were so worn out. So that's my last piece of wedding day advice.
Yeah, no. Shut up! Jeez, Nick, I'm so upset about that. No, listen, I am right on board with you, because, I mean, if she knows anything, it's that if my head hits the pillow and nothing happens in about 30 seconds, she's missed her window, because I'm out for the evening.
By the way, our man, my primary tool, my Percy Harvin kit, James Cook has just scored from about 45 yards out.
It's interesting you brought him up, Lowe's. When we get back, Kirby Smart was not panicking. He was spooking his opponents with this guy. We'll get to him next. He's Carlos Medina. I'm home team. Sean Nerdy here at Sports and Social in the Battery, Atlanta. This is College Game Day here on The Fan. 680, 93.7 FM.
This is College Football Saturday on 680 The Fan, powered by Georgia's own credit union.
So let's see. Call center worker, extension cord salesman. Yeah, that was a real thing. Credit card collections. Yeah, these are all jobs that I had and hated before I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Hey, it's Rob Jenners, production director here at The Fan. I am a graduate of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. There's a campus right here in Atlanta, and their broadcast media program teaches pretty much
Cook is one of those guys that
production. So if you want to do a podcast,
it doesn't even
or
look like
you're a
he's
YouTuber,
going
or
fast,
you want to start a Twitch channel,
but he's going
or
really
get
fast.
into TV or sports
Why is he passing everybody?
It's all there for you.
Looks like
at the
he's
Connecticut
jogging,
School of
but he's out running.
Broadcasting. You learn by doing.
I was like saying
industry
Santana
pros
Moss.
that are working
He never looked like he was
in
running as
radio,
fast as he
TV,
could.
digital media,
He's just gone.
podcasting right now. Look, I used to hate getting up and going to work to do any one of those other jobs. Here, we joke every day that we get to play radio. Set up a studio tour at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting and check it out. Just visit GoCSB.com for more information.
So,
That's GoCSB.com.
Murph, what time are we out today?
Classes start in November.
So we only have 2 breaks in the last hour, so just break at 2:45. Take it at 2:45, and that'll take us right to the 2:50 pregame.
Okay.
Rhonda sold 3 of my homes and saved me nearly $35,000.
Yep, break right at 2:45.
All right, so then I'll go a little longer here then. I'll go maybe break at 18.
Income.
Yeah, that works.
Then that way we can split the difference
year
and
after
then
year.
finish up the show.
Duffy flexibility.
And then we'll be out at
the money you
2:45.
save.
Sounds good.
$, and then 0.75% when it's sold. It allows more money to stay in the deal and makes for a quicker win-win for you and your buyer, and it gets a deal done. Secondly, Rhonda and her team of Duffy experts by specialty wrote the book on what it takes to sell successfully. And third, well, your part's easy. Since Duffy does it all, you get to sit back, relax, and count all that extra money that you worked for in the first place, because money matters. Call Duffy today and let Rhonda rock for you.
Either that or
Duffy RealtyATL.com.
Got one errand to run with the wife when we get out of here. Matter of fact, we'll run out of here and go run it with her. And
Hey, sports fans, come to Industry Tavern for great food, fun, and service. Industry Tavern is located in the heart of Buckhead at the intersection of Peachtree and Piedmont Road. We have something for everyone, including international award-winning pizzas, burgers, wings, and over 20-plus TVs, so you're guaranteed to not miss the action. Our bar is always fully stocked with a wide selection of beer, wine, and handcrafted cocktails. So come on and hang out with us at Industry Tavern, voted best happy hour in Atlanta, online at industrytavern.com.
Yeah! King here, and if you're looking for the hottest truck on the market that also delivers on the durability, safety, gas mileage scale, all that, then it's time to visit the Ellis family and Jim Ellis Buick GMC. Right now, you can save $11,000 off MSRP on the 2019 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT. And Jim Ellis has nearly 24 for you to stroll the aisles deciding on. And the Sierra 1500 SLT has that cool, unbelievably useful tailgate that you've seen or heard so much about. It's a bench. It's a full-size step. It's almost bleachers the way it changes around to just what you need when you're in the parking lot.
I'm telling you, God help the guy that gives up the first points for Arkansas State.
The MSRP, $59,675. Jim Ellis Buick GMC, you don't pay that. You get the rebate, and you get the Jim Ellis Buick GMC discount.
And that's the other thing. It never happens because like they just like just add out-schemed your out physics. Somebody will screw something up, and it'll lead to a touchdown.
BuickGMC.com or stop by Peachtree Industrial just inside the perimeter on Highway 20 in Beaufort. Jim Ellis Buick GMC, we are professional grade.
Matt Stinchcomb here for Engineered Solutions of Georgia, proud partner of the Georgia Bulldogs. When was the last time you had your basement crawl space checked out? There could be an entire ecosystem of creatures living right under your home, and there could be mold. Your solution? Have a liner installed underneath your house to keep the humidity and other things you don't want out of your home. It will also lower your utility costs and save you money over time. This particular job's pretty hard to do and difficult to do on your own, so you want to hire a professional that knows what they're doing. Give Engineered Solutions of Georgia a call at 678-ESOG now.
678-ESOG now. The first place Atlanta Braves only play here.
And a 1-1 pitch to Dansby Swanson is on the way, and it's hit hard.
So just give me a minute at 44, just fire the music, Murph.
For Dansby!
WCNN North.
What'd you say?
I said when we get to 40, just give me a minute with the
Fan
bumper to get out.
680.
Gotcha.
The Fans College Game Day, live from Sports and Social, keeping you up to speed on all the afternoon college action on the college football voice of the South. The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
Welcome back in to College Game Day Live from Sports and Social here in the Battery, Atlanta. Home team Brandon Leak, Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney here for another hour as we infotain college football week 3. Georgia in total control of 41-0 in Athens over Arkansas State. And down the flats, Bobby Dodd Stadium, an issue as the Citadel is leading the Jackets. They are. The Jackets defensively okay. Offensively still haven't found their rhythm, but the Jackets trailing 14-6 at the half.
And the momentum, any momentum that you could get going into halftime is just sucked all the way up for the Citadel. Kind of funny. I was reading I think Jeff Collins' post-half comments, and it read a little bit like the Falcons lost a week ago. We got to get better on the outside. We got to contain and push things back inside. By this point in the college football season, week 3, it's not something you should be having to tell your defense. Guys just obviously didn't come up ready to play today, and they got to, like I said earlier in the break, this may be the first dose of angry Jeff Collins that this team gets to see. It'll be interesting to hear what he says to the team during half.
Yeah, they're going to have to dig out of this thing because it's just been ugly. We've just been watching the game, and every moment where you go, okay, a little bit of momentum, see if they can get something going, they shoot themselves in the foot. It's just that one of those Saturdays, one of those 12:30 starts where you're sleepwalking for a half, and you got to get out of it as quickly as possible when they get things going here in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things are progressed through. Now, here comes the funny part. You talked about it, Nerney. You talked about it, Los. The backup's going to be able to stop Arkansas State from scoring. Are they going to make Kirby mad? Do you want to pitch the shutout? Do you want to hold them to a field goal, keep them out of the end zone for 4 quarters? Is that now a goal of this game?
Certainly is now. 41-0, yeah.
Yeah, you might as well.
Oh, you're damn right. I can guarantee you that at halftime he told these guys, listen, before you guys take the field, that shutout that's intact right now, that's staying intact through the second half. And I said during the break, God help whatever poor soul on that Georgia defense blows an assignment, blows a coverage, does something wrong to give up the first points of the game for Arkansas State, because that's how it always happens. It's never, they came out in the second half and they just beat us down the field on a 15-play drive and they earned this touchdown. It's always somebody screwing up, somebody falling over, missed assignment that leads to those first points. Don't be that guy.
J.R. Reed just made the previous tackle. They're still playing their starters. They want to make it a point, at least for the first drive out of half. We're going to play our guys.
Yeah, all they need is one turnover. They can really put this thing, into embarrassment mode if it isn't already. We were talking before the break. Was it panic or was he trying to spook his opponents? We'll talk about Kirby Smart putting James Cook in the slot. Was that showing a lack of faith in his wide receiving core, or is he just using a guy who can hurt you 6 ways to Saturday in a different position to give you and your linebackers and your safeties something else to think about?
I've enjoyed it so far. The way that they're using James Cook, and if you just missed it, James Cook lined up in a traditional veer position. He's lined up just behind the tight end, or just off the right tackle in this case for this particular one. He comes on that small sweep, and here's the handoff, and he's gone. And it's 45 yards down the field, and it's a touchdown. That's something that Percy Harvin used to do when he played here. Now, the other part about that, too, their very first big play where Swift took the pass and took off for about 40 yards, that was another one of those where they showed that sweep action with Cook. How are they getting all their running backs on the field? They're getting all their running backs on the field because Cook is being used as this all-purpose monster that you got to deal with everywhere on the field.
How do you break containment if you're an offense? How do you get outside of the defense? Well, you put their fastest guy in the slot, you let him do a jet sweep, and you outrun that defensive end, and you outrun that defense. James, I mean, to me, it's brilliant. It's in no way, to me, is it an indictment on the receiving core for Georgia. But listen, what do we know Georgia has been plugging in year after year after? 5-star running backs, okay?
Yeah.
And just because it says running back next to their name doesn't mean that they are, relegated to only coming out of the backfield. When you have talent like a guy like James Cook, who, and I said this on the air a couple weeks ago on 680, reminds me a lot like Alvin Kamara in that he's a guy you can line him up anywhere because he is just as effective catching the ball as he is running the ball.
He's averaging over 10 yards a carry. He's averaging over 10 yards a catch. He's averaging over 20 yards per kick return. This is an all-purpose weapon. This is, as Nerney just told you, you're playing an Alvin Kamara type of role. Not the role he's playing right now, but the role he played his first few years in New Orleans where it was everywhere on the field. Here's Mark Ingram. Here's your DeAndre Swift back. And then here's Kamara, here's your James Cook, who's being moved everywhere to attack a defense.
Adversity for Georgia Tech, down 14-6 at the half to the Citadel. So if they're going to win, their defense is going to have to come up with some stops, maybe some turnovers, get the ball, and the offense is going to have to find a way to overcome. Is Georgia Tech going to have to start sending a message to recruits that defensively we want the best, we can get the best, and we can coach up the best, and you can have a great experience as a defensive player here at Georgia Tech?
Well, that was the part of the whole argument, defending Paul Johnson, was that, defensively, if we played better defense, then, we'd get more wins. Okay, well, Coach Paul Johnson, not only did he, hire the defensive coordinators, but he's the final say in who you recruit and who you don't recruit on both the offense and the defensive side of the ball, all right? So, I think defensively, Georgia Tech was always missing out. And maybe part of it was the fact that kids didn't want to go and practice against the triple option week in and week out. But to me, it never made sense that you couldn't go and find these 4-star, high 3-star type defensive players and play them. I mean, you'd seen them at Georgia Tech time and time again.
And now snag them out of the transfer portal.
Yeah, now they're snagging them out. And the defensive secondary, some of the guys that they've got to come in, obviously, Sims from Michigan.
Antonio Cleveland.
Clayton out of Florida, who, by the way,
goodness gracious.
Listen, in the secondary, they look physical, they look talented. They could have used Clayton to get that waiver this year. He's a big body. He's the type of guy that you are missing on that line of scrimmage that you have to go and you got to go recruit.
There is something to, I'm not going to get my legs chopped every day. I will never not buy into that you're going to put me in a situation where I'm going to defend at least a version of what you see on Saturdays and Sundays, because you're not going to see triple option in the NFL, and that ends up being the issue that I think that you had in terms of landing some of that top talent. Now you can legitimately say you're going to be playing against this kind of style of offense, which is kind of a hybrid pro style offense. There is some option game in there. It's much more realistic to go get those guys, and I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see bump ups in recruiting all along the offense and defense, because you're in Atlanta, you're an ACC team, and you're running stuff that's conventional.
ACC, we're trying to figure out what it is Clemson, and then what? Trying to figure that out. Syracuse going to get a crack at the champs today. Virginia, I think one of the teams that can be one of the silent sneak up kinds of teams if they manage the first part of their schedule. Duke already with a loss to Alabama, but still has a lot of football to play, and Miami's had some brutal losses. Both of their losses just heart-wrenching at the end. Who would have thought that Wake Forest would be the team that's 3-0 before the Clemson Tigers?
Good for Wake. By the way, James Cook just took off again on is out of the slot, that animal. But the ACC, we're now looking at, all right, Syracuse has been able to, they were the last team to beat Clemson in the regular season a couple of years ago. Maybe they can play with them. But what happened to them in Maryland, you go, well, maybe not. It's such a frustrating conference from that standpoint of just trying to establish who's the other team in there that you would pay attention to. In years past, it's always been Clemson and Florida State. One of them who's going to do this, and then it'll go from there. Well, Florida State is such a bad situation to start with that, you basically just go, it's Clemson, it's everybody else right now.
Yeah, right now, really, you're looking to Virginia to be the number 2 behind Clemson right now. You really are, and they've done a great job of building up their offense and defensive lines, and obviously they're recruiting smart players to play up at Virginia. But, yeah, right now the story of the ACC, listen, Clemson is exactly who we thought they are. They've got the best quarterback in the league. They've got one of the best defenses in the league. But after that, Miami 0-2, Florida State, every year. You know what Florida State's turning into? Florida State is this close to turning into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of college football, where every offseason we say, okay, now Florida State's going to get it together. They're going to be something to be reckoned with in the ACC, and then they come out and then they're Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They were
underachieved.
They were an extra point away from going to another overtime.
Lord have mercy.
You're like, what is going on? And it's so bad. And they're in such a financial problem. They've got so many financial issues within the university, and they're committed to at least another year. Because the $15 million payout for Willie Taggart is something they just can't swing.
Yeah, I think it's a situation they're going to have to suck it up, kind of like Tennessee, until they figure something out. You just can't throw coaches out in the street when you don't have the financial stability that you used to have or that you need to just go ahead and say, you know what, it's not working, we're starting over with somebody else.
There's only one program that I know that's done it with such regularity because they've got the money to do it. And, of course, you don't want to be in the business of firing coaches.
Auburn has been the one to always say, you know what, we made a mistake. Here's $10 million, and we're moving on. And because they know, hey, we got a year out of this. It's not working. Here's your money. See you later. They have no problem doing that. Most every other university does not want to be in the business of, here's $15 million. See you later.
And I think another team that, we forget about it because they have fallen off the face of the earth is Virginia Tech. And, I mean, right now they're having problems against Furman. Right now they're in the third quarter up 17-14. But, another squad that I think going into last year really had high aspirations, and they just kind of fizzled out early in the year. And, it's not looking good right now for the ACC outside of Clemson.
Yeah, there are no powerhouses. It's Clemson and really, truly everybody else. And that's not the way it should be. You hate to harken back. In my day, the Miami Hurricanes and Florida State Seminoles, when they came, you need to bring your lunch pail, but that's not the case anymore, which also breeds opportunity. Who could be the next up behind Clemson? Is Miami ever going to get their stuff together? Is Virginia ever going to be able to get their bleep together? Is Florida State going to figure it out? They still recruit. They just don't have offensive line or the quarterback play that they need.
This is an arms race. And there are some teams, in part of this is credit to Georgia. Georgia has the largest support staff of anybody in the country, and that's followed by Alabama. When you start talking about recruiting budgets and how much people have been spending, Ohio State spends a crazy amount. Georgia does. Alabama does. The cost of playing elite college football has gone up so much that when you look at a program like Clemson that has everything you need for it, and then you look at Miami and you go, y'all play in a pro stadium. Or you look over at Florida State and say, you wouldn't give a national championship winning coach in Jimbo Fisher to the facilities he asked for. You start realizing the price of poker, not everybody in the ACC is willing to go to that level.
And I think we forget this about Miami and kind of the exodus that was this past offseason for Miami, the talent they lost. I mean, they lost a couple of receivers. Cager obviously ending up at Georgia, Ezzard transferring up to Georgia Tech. Those were their starting wideouts. So Miami, it wasn't a addition by subtraction over this past offseason.
Yeah, they're going to go through some growing pains, and Florida State will too. I'm still thinking those are the two programs that will fix it first, that Florida State and Miami will turn it around first, you would think.
You would have an opportunity, and this is the part for Georgia Tech, and please, let's get this thing going back the right way in the second half. This is the opportunity that Jeff Collins now steps into. There is a vacuum, and whenever you have a program fall off or something happens or things aren't working out, it creates an opportunity for somebody else to move in. There is a finite amount of college football talent. And so if you can create the atmosphere that draws that over to you, you rise. Somebody else will fall and you will rise. And so that's where you step into in the ACC right now. There's a lot of opportunity in Atlanta here to build a program that can start competing and doing some cool things.
All right, when we get back, the SEC has a good chance of making a bunch of people angry again. And are they going to get paid or is it going to get messed up? We'll get to it. I'm home team Carlos Medina, Sean Nerney. We're broadcasting live from Sports and Social here in the Battery, Atlanta. This is College Game Day on the Fan, 680, 93.7 FM.
Next Saturday, it's the biggest battle of the season between the hedges as the Irish come to Athens for a once-in-a-lifetime game. And of course, the Fans Tailgate is there with the biggest free tailgate in Athens, all presented by Cadillac and the all-new 2020 XT6 crossover with drinks from Corona Extra, live music, and free food from Grill Dome. It's the only way to start this epic game day. Secure your free ticket now at 680thefan.com/tailgate central, all part of our huge marathon tailgate series. Special thanks to Cadillac, Marathon, Solomon Brothers, Georgia Grinders, Kendra Scott, Ready Refresh by Nestle, Diamond Resorts, and Body Armor Sports Drink.
Hey Bulldog fans, Georgia United Credit Union now offers Georgia Bulldogs debit cards. Now you can show your UGA pride everywhere you go and spend. Pick your favorite design and score yours today. Georgia United makes banking easy, friendly, and smart for busy members. Attack the day with a free checking account that pays big interest. It's the smart choice. Visit GUCU.org/GODAWGS for important account information. Insured by NCUA. Georgia United, the official credit union of Georgia Athletics.
Do you know that most people describe remodeling as stressful? Does that sound like your experience? Hi, this is Candace from Exovations. I got a tip for you. With Exovations as your partner, you'll get a completely different remodeling experience. How? Well, besides covering the very basics like showing up on time, cleaning up your property each day, not smashing your flowers or bushes, and not pressuring you to buy today because this huge deal expires tonight. We also cover the big things like a written project schedule so you know when workers are coming and when they're not. A fixed price quote so you're guaranteed that what you pay is exactly what you committed to up front. And a design of what your home will look like so you're not left guessing if you're even going to like the finished product. Discover what stress-free remodeling looks like and schedule your free quote today at exovations.com. That's EXOVATIONS.com.
King here, and if you're looking for the hottest truck on the market that also delivers on the durability, safety, gas mileage scale, all that, then it's time to visit the Ellis family in Jim Ellis Buick GMC. Right now, you can save $11,000 off MSRP on the 2019 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT. And Jim Ellis has nearly 24 for you to stroll the aisles deciding on. And the Sierra 1500 SLT has that cool, unbelievably useful tailgate that you've seen or heard so much about. It's a bench. It's a full-size step. It's almost bleachers the way it changes around to just what you need when you're in the parking lot and got the grill going. Example, stock number S19187. The MSRP, $59,675. At Jim Ellis Buick GMC, you don't pay that. You get the rebate, and you get the Jim Ellis Buick GMC discount, and you only pay $48,675. Just add TABT and state fees. For more details on this offer and many more, visit JimEllisBuickGMC.com or stop by Peachtree Industrial just inside the perimeter or on Highway 20 in Buford. Jim Ellis Buick GMC, we are professional grade.
This is Mike Geller at D. Geller & Son, and we're celebrating a milestone. 80 years. We've been the source for diamonds in Atlanta since 1939. Anniversary specials are going on right now. 4-carat total weight diamond tennis bracelets for $26.95. 1-carat total weight diamond studs for $7.95. 1-carat loose diamonds starting at only $24.95.
So you keep throwing on 3rd and 8 and 3rd.
We're looking forward to celebrating the next 80 years.
Keep
Check
throwing
it
on
out
3rd and 8
at
and 3rd and 9s.
dgeller.com.
Hey guys, it's Matt Ryan. If you're a school teacher and you could use an extra $500, Attorney
See,
Ken
now
Nugent
they're
wants
just
to
trying
help
to go
you
back
out
to
this
what
football
works.
season.
They're going to try
Thanks,
to read
Matt.
option
For
it to
every
death
game
with the
this
bias.
season, I'm donating
Oh, no,
to
there's
2
Lucas now on
teachers
3rd down.
$500 each.
To register to win, go to attorneykennugent.com, and 2 teachers will win $500 every game.
And remember, if you need an attorney, you can reach us at
way too
***
predictable,
Ken
man.
on your
Way
mobile phone.
too predictable.
That's **KEN.
One call.
That's all.
Ken Nugent is a proud partner.
All right, so we're 30 seconds away from the last update. So, yeah, just take this to 45, and I'll play music at, 44.
Okay.
Brewed to be held like a football. The one beer with the Blitz package named after it. And the only cerveza scientifically proven to taste like victory. So grab a Dos Equis, the official beer of the college football playoff. And keep it interesante.
Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York. Copyright 2019. Dos Equis Beer Brands.
Talk to our
Official beer
friends
sponsor
over
of the
there.
college football playoff.
680
Yeah, I
The
said,
Fan.
hey, I'm sorry. We were on the air right when y'all
Sports
walked
page.
up. I was like,
Good
we weren't trying
afternoon,
to
it's me,
game over anything.
Ryan,
Like,
with the
they
Georgia
go.
United Credit Union
One of them goes,
scoreboard.
yeah, at first we were really
Browns leading the
confused.
Dogs
Then we kind of
to a
glanced over.
rout
It's
of
like,
Arkansas
oh, we
State.
figured it
Bobby
out.
Thrown for 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, and has led
Yeah,
them
we're
to
very
a
important people.
48-0
So
lead
very important.
in the
I'm
third
sorry, I
quarter.
can't talk to you
Justin
right
Fields
now.
has also
I'm
thrown
doing
for
a
3
radio
TDs,
show.
as
You
number
watch
6
Atlanta
Ohio
Reed?
State is dominating Indiana 37-10. At the half, number 13
You on
Penn
the
State is
Instagram?
struggling with Pitt.
You know we
That
can
game
see
tied
when
at
you
10.
follow us.
That game just went to the half as well. Maryland finally got
I'll
their
flip it to
offense
those
going,
DMs later.
and they went up 9-7, but Temple just scored. It's now 13-9.
I would love, just one
pending
time,
the
just look through his
PAT in favor
DMs.
of Temple. Tennessee rolling
How many
to a
times has he been caught
45-0
cheating?
lead over Chattanooga. That game in the third. Mississippi State now has taken
That's
the
when
lead
they
over
took my
Kansas
phone away.
State 21-17, and the Citadel.
What's up, Stream?
All over Georgia
What's up,
Tech, 14-6. Early in the third quarter, that
Now,
game
when
can
we're
be heard
streaming,
over
is
our
it the
sister
update that
station,
goes
the
over the
Sports
air?
X.
It's still us.
That's still us. It's us the entire time.
106.3.
Dump that last
With
minute.
The Georgia United Credit Union College.
That's not how that
Scoreboard.
works.
I'm Ryan,
God,
and you're
son.
listening to the most powerful voice in sports, the Fan. 680 and 93.7 FM.
680 The Fan's College Football Saturday, powered by Georgia's Own Credit Union. Become one of Georgia's Own now at georgiasown.org. The Fan's College Game Day, live from Sports and Social at the Battery Atlanta. We've got college scores and stats all afternoon on the college football voice of the South. The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM.
Welcome back in to 680's College Game Day, live from Sports and Social here in the Battery Atlanta. Home team Brandon Leak, Sean Nerney, Carlos Medina. We are here as we are chugging along, as the Georgia Bulldogs are chugging along. They're up 48-0 at home in Athens against Arkansas State. They have about 2 minutes and change left in the third quarter. Starting quarterback has been removed. Starting running back has been removed. And now the backups can get their work in.
Isn't that amazing, though, when you say the backups can get their work in, and the backup just so happens to be Zamir White?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me go look at the bench. Oh yeah, the number one running back in the country a year ago.
Yeah.
Come on in, Zamir. Come get
tough.
you some.
Time for Georgia Tech to make a stand. They're down 14-6 early in the third quarter. Just had a 3-and-out situation. Now they punt. They have the Citadel pinned inside the 5-yard line. This is where you need to make your move. Get them off the field. Don't let them get first downs and chew up the clock. Get you a good field position. Get in the end zone and make it a game.
Really what I've been my biggest fear from this multiple quarterback look, we're really starting to see it right now in its deepest form, and that is subbing QBs based in drive based on whether you're running or throwing the football. That is becoming way too predictable when you're an offense and you're having to do that. You saw last drive, Tobias Oliver in trying to run a read option, and then Lucas Johnson on 3rd and long coming in. You know they're going to throw the ball. As a team, as an offense, you are making it way too easy for the defensive coordinator to decipher what you're trying to do.
All right. Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? Is it going to be a problem? The number of SEC teams making it to the college football playoff. Oh, no. 3 teams couldn't make it. Well, I throw in, I'd submit to you, gentlemen, Bama already has shown us they get a little extra love, even if they lose a game or 2. So, is it going to be 2 or 3, and is it a problem if it's the Bulldogs, Bama, LSU, or is it a situation where the College Football Playoff Committee, it's going to be Clemson? Do they want the Texas? Do they want the Oklahoma? Do they want the Notre Dame? What is it better? Is it bad for college football? I just think it makes people around the country mad that a bunch of SEC teams are going to be in the running towards the end of the season.
2 variables in all of this. One is on the wedding day of Sean Nerney, what does LSU and Alabama look like? Because this entire deal, when it comes to college football and the playoff system, is a made-for-TV event. They're trying to get the most amount of eyeballs in the 2 most interesting games before a final.
Thank you.
That's all they're trying to create. So if you have a blowout either way, then that immediately puts it in a situation where, let's say even hypothetically, Alabama gets blown out. There's not going to be a whole lot of calls for LSU to, let's make sure we put these 2 in the playoff. But if they play a really tremendous football game, and one of them now goes 12-1 and misses out on a chance to go to the SEC championship game, and the other one goes and wins it, then yeah, you have a very good scenario for both of them to get in. That's very similar to how Alabama got in a couple of years ago. The other scenario here is Georgia and Alabama in a championship game. It has been one of the most watched shows as far as college football over the last couple of years. So if you tell somebody here they're going to play in an SEC championship game and they might meet up again in a final if they play an epic game, then it's quite possible.
What if LSU beats Alabama? LSU goes to the championship game and plays Georgia. Georgia beats LSU. Bama doesn't lose another game.
Oh, they're in.
Right.
We've already seen that.
Yeah,
There's no doubt.
And by the way, after today, not that we couldn't do it last week, but after today, we can pretty much just mark in, put Clemson right there in Sharpie.
Yes.
Clemson's getting in without a problem. They can lose a game, and they'll still get in without a problem.
That's one. And now the winner of the SEC championship game. You would think that would be 2, unless the scenario I laid out happened. Saban and the Crimson Tide would be going.
You would have to have something crazy happen, like Georgia loses to Notre Dame, loses another game, still wins, and, hey, they win the conference with 2 losses. I don't think you get in at that point, but that's about the only way an SEC champion doesn't get in.
And then the number 1 team that had a shot going into the season, you would think from the Pac-12. The Pac-12 may have played themselves out of this already with Washington already going down. Now, I mean, you got USC on the table who's still undefeated, but, I mean, without their starting quarterback, you can't depend upon them to stay undefeated either.
What do you think about an outsider coming in to clean up the Tennessee mess? It's just not good for Tennessee to be what they are.
It would have been my man Mike Leach.
Gotta love him.
That would have been perfect. Do you realize we would have all existed in a world where we wouldn't have to be waiting till 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Monday to get Mike Leach's comments about whatever. And that whatever could include Sasquatch, war,
aliens,
Loch Ness Monster. He will entertain it all. I had a guy tell me who did when he had his book out, Swing Your Sword, did the book tour with him. And I asked him, I was like, listen, I've heard like coaches a little bit quirky. You know, what is, have you experienced any of this? He goes, yeah, we're driving out in the middle of nowhere. There were all these prairie dogs that were popping up. He had me pull the car over, and he started watching them because he wanted to see if there was some sort of mathematical reason why they do what they do. Like, are they driven all in and sort of packed like, oh, you just popped your head up, now it's my turn. I was like, okay, the man wonders about the weirdest things, but, oh, by the way, he also wins football games and puts together offense.
And look at his offense last night. And that's the other travesty. I mean, the game last night, Washington State kicks off like 10:30 last night.
Yeah.
I'm watching it. The dude, his first possession of the game is going for it 4th and 1 from his own territory. And they're not running the ball. They're throwing the ball out into the flats on 4th and 1. He's crazy like that. And listen, I am thrilled with the Jeff Collins hire. I love the direction of the program at Georgia Tech, even though today not so much. But I was fully behind bringing Mike Leach in here for an interview when Georgia Tech was looking for their next head coach. And, for me, I guess he is – the only thing I can think of is he is just too wacky for the University of Tennessee, and that's why they overlooked him.
He doesn't culturally fit most places. And then the problem is, too, and let's bring out the other thing. If you're an administrator, he's still suing another university because of the money he feels he was entitled to and the way that they went about him firing and what they decided to do. So he still has, pending stuff against Texas Tech. So it's not really that easy to then go get another job when you've sued a previous employer.
That was some of the best information I got. I had to eat it. Worked this place a long time ago, Nerdy. They owed me money on the way out. I don't like people to get one over on me. I'm going to get my money. I'm going to court. It's not the best look. It's the best advice I got. What you want to do is make sure you move forward and not make it seem like you're a problem employee on the way in.
I had an employer.
Eat it. I didn't want to, but that was good advice.
I had an employer at a previous radio station.
You know. Do tell.
That on my way out.
Did you guys come from the same place?
We did used to work together.
In order to pay me the money, here we're going to give you 3 months. Said, cool. But you have to sign this document saying you weren't capable of doing the job. I'm like, hold on a second.
My hand didn't work.
I just did it for 4 years. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you have to make
They pulled off so many illegal things. It was fascinating.
Well,
and again, you're right. I'm like, I can't sue you on the way out because then it looks bad for my next job.
It's worked out well.
It's
worked out well
better
for Mike Leach as well.
I don't know Korean, so I couldn't stay.
That's right. I have heard it is Radio 3.
It was a little different.
It is. I mean, it does.
It's amazing. You guys have very similar exit stories.
It makes me a little sad.
But you find as you march in life, Bernie, people we really have more in common than not.
It all came full circle. It all came full circle because they all work with us now.
It's College Game Day live from Sports and Social in the Battery, Atlanta. Home team, Sean Nerney and Carlos Medina. The number to call, 404-231-1680. Is this going to get fixed, or is it going to always be a problem? Now, 2 states trying to work out paying college athletes or seeing if they can get paid for endorsements or use of their likeness. It looks like it's coming out of the conversation and into law and into courtrooms coming soon in California. They have a bill on the table that if it passes, it will go into effect in 2023. South Carolina, they are trying to move swiftly and loudly to see about getting college student athletes the ability to be paid on endorsements or through their likeness. I don't have a problem with it because I'm in support of getting the kids those opportunities. Obviously, you don't want a situation where you have more damage than you already have now, but I would rather you take the steps to get those things in place, then make the corrections, as opposed to not allowing grown men, once you turn 18, you're grown, right? Grown men to make money off of their likeness.
So for me, I don't have a huge problem with it. I'm not on board the whole the colleges should be playing these kids. I think there's way too much that goes into, well, does that team get, does this sport get more money than that sport? How do you divvy it up between the players? Well, that player is not really producing, a lot. The stars should be getting the money. There's just way too many question marks when you're talking about the colleges paying these guys. But when you're talking about strictly, for example, the guy, used it earlier in the show. Local dealership wants to use one of your players, put him out in a commercial, he should get a check for that. Right. That I don't have a problem with, because that's purely marketing yourself, and that's that's not, you have to divvy that up, have to worry about divvying that up between players or favoritism. That's you and going and getting your own. I don't really have a problem with that. Now, there's a couple things about this. It doesn't go into effect until 2023 would be the first year where California implemented this. So for me, I don't know if this was so much about taking action in California and actually going through with this as it is trying to be a kick in the butt for the NCAA, who has not addressed this. And I'll bring it up again, since NCAA took away my football game on Xbox, and I no longer had, the ability to be the highest recruiting class year in and year out and building Tech up into a powerhouse. I don't have that ability anymore. And the NCAA really, since that time and before, has had the opportunity to address this issue. What I think this does, what California is doing, what they passed on a bipartisan level, there was not a single vote against this measure that they took.
73-0 is how the bill passed.
I think what this is going to do, it's going to force the NCAA to really come to the table, map out their version of the plan. Now, it may not be, and it probably won't be exactly the same as what California is putting out there, but they've got to address this. And I think this is the kind of thing that you're going to see more and more states take this stance until the NCAA actually comes to the table and presents some kind of likeness, image, their plan for this type of thing.
And ultimately, whatever gets me back NCAA football the fastest and also takes down the NCAA as an organization the fastest are the two things that I have hand in hand.
Right.
Because when you start talking about a $65 game that's going to go and sell out about 5 million copies, it wasn't doing as much as Madden, where Madden and Gears of War and all those do 10 million every single time out. But 5 million still is nothing to sneeze at, and you start talking about, okay, over 130 NCAA teams that are on there, and we've got likenesses of 85 guys on a roster. It starts splitting up the money, and so you might say, hey, guess what? Every year it comes out, you are going to make $8,500. That's what your end of this college football industry is going to be. That's not crazy money. That's not being silly. That's just saying, you know what? We're now compliant with the law of a state. The NCAA doesn't want it. The NCAA's going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I just think, whatever side of the argument you sit, it's more about what is the march towards right and better. Is it wrong that guys are not getting paid for their likenesses? If you say no, you'll be fine. If you say yes, then you're for these things. I just would like kids to have the opportunity to put a little money in their pocket. They still have to go to class. They still have to remain eligible. They still have to be good football, basketball, golf, tennis players, or else they're going to lose their scholarships and be kicked out of school anyway. We're talking about something that's extra and maybe something that they've earned because they were a good high school football player, or Zion Williamson had a lot of hype going into Duke and then going into the NBA. So he had some hype coming in to college. Can he not have a T-shirt company? Can he not have a car wash? Can he not have a local endorsement deal in Durham because he's Zion Williamson, as opposed to getting nothing except for his books, his room and board, and his tuition taken care of? By the way, those things that he earned already because he got his scholarship.
Yeah, and I'm not going and saying that, day one on campus, true freshmen should be eligible to go out there and just sign as many deals as they want. If you want to compromise on this, I'm all for it, okay? If you want to put stipulations, okay, true freshmen, much like a lot of true freshmen can't live off campus, true freshmen can't delve in this stuff until they've been on campus for a year. Maybe you set up a fund type issue where it's, okay, well, they can do it, but it's going to stay in a fund. They can only use, if they're going to use the money before they leave campus, it has to be for housing or for food. Now that's going to open up some jobs because some people are actually going to have to regulate that type of thing. But that's what it's going to turn into. California, what they put forth on their table, the NCAA is not going to go along with all of that. But they can compromise, take some of those ideas, and they come to the table with their answer. But can they do that? Are they going to do that? Because for the past decade plus, they haven't done that.
The NCAA can't do anything about a state law changing. They can pretend like they're going to do whatever. They can't do anything about it. They have, what they have to do? They have to suck it. And then they got to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to try and maintain their power. Now, we start talking about how they'll regulate it. There are some things that are going to have to be put into play at the university level and everything else. For instance, I can't have, hey, this is Jake Fromm here for vape. Like these sort of things. Like there are certain things.
Where do you get your CBD?
Where do you get your CBD oil? I get mine over. There's certain things that we can't really be able to push, and so we're on this cusp of the Wild West, where we got to figure out what guys can endorse, what they can use their likeness for.
What really helps you on the football field?
Yeah. Hey, this is George Pickens here for Toppers. Go there every Wednesday night. The best in adult entertainment. No, this is a can of worms that is going to happen in South Carolina and California, and ultimately, it's like anything else. It's like medical marijuana. It's like marijuana. It's like sports betting. Once it starts to show up in states, and it doesn't cause problems, other people start going, yeah, why don't we do that?
But that also transcends just the players and the endorsement talk. There's certain things you don't see a lot of liquor sponsors and adult entertainment sponsors
to certain
in
ages.
College athletics anyway. So there's certain entities that are out anyway. Make that a part of the rules as well.
And then that's the deal. Like you and I, we've endorsed different liquors and different alcohols over the years, but we're adults.
Correct.
Even at 21, it's still a bad look to, I'm here for Heineken. Like, okay, I'd rather have the professional athlete doing that one. So, yeah, it's going to be a matter of what you're allowed to do, how much you're allowed to do it, what's it going to come down to. There is going to have to be some sort of compliance from the NCAA if the NCAA is going to survive.
Does anybody have any sound from the Falcons hype video? I am being told that it has been yanked.
No,
This
they took it
cannot
down
be.
already?
I just asked Brian Murphy if he could play it. I was going to go out, and now it looks like it is not there. The Falcons released a hype video where Bone Crusher released, I don't know if it was a new song or just a song for this Sunday as the Falcons get ready to take on the Eagles for Sunday Night Football, and it looks like the video has been pulled down. When I left home today, there were 175 comments. None of them were positive.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I just tried to click because you put the video out there, and I'm trying to pull it up. Yeah, not found is the response I'm getting.
Oh boy.
Why would they take that down?
Well, they saw the negative response they were getting. Maybe they're going to go.
Like mine, like just win a damn game.
See, I'll consider
I'm
that.
tired of all the hype videos coming out of MBS. Let's just win a freaking game. Let's pass protect.
It did go too well. The name of the song was called "Do the Dirty Bird."
I got it.
You do have it somewhere.
Oh, okay.
You want me to stick it in my microphone, or should I just
see if you can send it to Murph
I'm
and
gonna see
maybe
if I
let
can
the
send this
people
to
decide.
Murphy.
We don't want to hide anything from the people. Let them decide. But the Falcons come in with the hype video, and you're right. The videos don't matter. They have the Eagles coming in. The Eagles are looking to go 2-0. They need to find a way, hook or crook, to win this game. If they're 0-2 to start the season, everybody in this town is going to go crazy. And you're already going to be 0-2 in the NFC in a year where it looks like the Vikings, and it looks like the Seahawks, and it looks like the Rams, and it looks like the Packers, and it looks like the Bears.
Don't forget.
And it looks like the Cowboys. I was saving it for last because y'all look good. They might be taking up a lot of the spots in the postseason.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to say that I think the Falcons are going to get a win tomorrow, but I'm also not going to say that if they don't get a win, the season is completely lost. Okay, playing Minnesota and Philadelphia, two very, very solid front sevens to start the year off. When you were playing two rookies a week ago, this week one of the rookies is going to be gone for a little while, and Chris Lindstrom. They've got to play a lot better than they did a week ago. And the most frustrating thing for me a week ago, but yet, positive in a sense in that a lot of everything that you saw is fixable, okay? There is a lot that they did last week. 90% of the reason they lost that game is fundamental type stuff.
Okay.
On the offensive side of the football, it wasn't so much getting dominated against a rush, although Jake Matthews at times did get beat, but that's going to happen against a team like the Vikings. It was not being able to pick up simple blitzes. It was Jake Matthews not seeing an outside guy coming, stepping out, and letting your guard handle your guy. It was James Carpenter going way too far inside to help Alex Mack when he didn't necessarily need help and completely forgetting about the B-gap blitz. That was the problem on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, not setting an edge. Defensive contained, something I preach from day one to 8th graders. Keep the edge. Push that ball back inside. Those kind of things. Those are fixable things. Hopefully they got it done this week during practice.
It looked like two different groups when I went through the All-22 that didn't play in the preseason.
They looked
They look like a team that didn't
not
play
sharp.
in the preseason.
I look at it like this.
Simple stuff.
You were out of the game because you turned the ball over twice in the red zone. A fumble by Devontae Freeman, a horrific pick by Matt Ryan on the 2-yard line, even though all of his wide receivers were off the field and we were going with our jumbo package. That to the side. You turn the ball over twice in the red zone. If you take care of the ball and you do a little bit better of blocking for your quarterback, you might have a chance to win. I hope they don't do this. Brian Murphy has found it. Los, you found it. Here's the Dirty Bird song. We want to say thanks to Brian Murphy, to Rhino and Derek Thomas.
These guys had like professional careers in music, right?
We don't need to be playing like party stuff. It needs to sound tough.
Man, this is hot.
Is there nothing better than like Dirty Bird? It's 20 years old. Is there nothing better that we can come out with?
This sounds like a party. You want a tough hype video. You want something that sounds like we're going to cut up Carson Wentz. Zach Ertz is going to limp out of here. Where are those lyrics?
I'd rather listen to Bone. I'm outside of the club and think I was gone.
Yeah,
I just.
That's Bone Crusher.
And by the way, let me cherry on top of the afternoon. It's 21-14 Citadel right now. Citadel scores again. I just saw Lucas Johnson leave the game holding his collarbone, so
that ain't good.
We'll see what happens there.
All right, we want to say thanks to everybody who listened today. We'll be back next week. Want to say thanks to Derek Thomas, to Rhino, to Brian Murphy, everybody who listened.
30.
Make sure you keep your station locked here as the Braves get ready to take on the Washington Nationals. Freddie Freeman will be playing, even though he left last night's game. That is good news, and the magic number for
20.
the Braves is 6. We'll see you next week here on College Game Day, live from Sports and Social here on The Fan, 680, 93.7 FM.
See you guys.
Bye.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play, and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats.
Bye, Stream. Thanks.
And parties don't stop till 8 in the morning. Welcome to Atlanta.
Next Saturday, it's the biggest battle of the season between the hedges as the Irish come to Athens for a once-in-a-lifetime game. And of course, the Fans Tailgate is there with the biggest free tailgate in Athens, all presented by